Park, the real life fun of harness racing. Here they come, an exhibition park.
Welcome to another episode of the History of EPR podcast. I'm your host, Scott Bernard. We have some very special guests today. I'm going to go over quickly their stats, and you guys will figure out who it is pretty quickly. The first guest we have, this is actually an uncle and nephew combo here. The first one, Marcel Barrieau, over 3,000 wins. First driver to hit over $100,000 in winning strictly in the maritime tracks in 1979. Also in 1979, finished with 117 wins. Won the Alexander Memorial with Flying Caper in 1979. Won the Ice Racing Championship in 1980. Won the Roof and Barrier Memorial in 81. Provincial Cup, 85 and 86 with Angel Shadow. And also, this is just some of his stats. Won the Gold Cup and Saucer in 1983 with Silent Class. And his nephew, who you do all know, Gilles Barrieau, he has over 5,000 wins. 4-time winner of the Gold Cup and Saucer. 5-time winner of Governor's Plate. 4-time winner of Walter Dale. Also won Provincial Cup and the Alexander Memorial. 2-time winner of the O'Brien Trophy, Top Horseman. 29 seasons with over 100 wins. Member of the St. John Hall of Fame, the Moncton Hall of Fame, soon to be the New Brunswick Hall of Fame. So I'm going to bring Marcel on first. And Marcel's been on before. Hey, Marcel, how you making out today, buddy?
Good, Scott. Yourself?
Good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. Yep.
And we're going to bring Jill on next. Hey, Jill, how are you? Yeah, we're having some technical issues here. Just give me a second. We'll edit this part.
Here, but I don't.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, here you go. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, we're having some internet issues. How you go today?
Good, Scott, and yourself?
Good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And also, congratulations on the new Hall of Fame induction that came out there. The announcement came out last week. Really well deserved.
Very nice.
And I'm going to bring on our last guest. This is the biggest one of the bunch. This is Russell. Russell, I don't know. Russell sells cars. Yeah, Russell sells cars.
Again, Scott, thank you for listing all of my driving accomplishments again.
Yeah, no problem.
But that's okay, because we're gonna talk about my reinsmanship a little later on in the show, maybe. Okay.
That sounds good, Russell. Yeah. Perfect.
Congratulations, Joe, on the award this week.
Thank you.
Very well deserved.
Thank you kindly.
All right, so I'm just going to jump right into it because I think our internet issues are solved. We had Marcel on in the past. It was a great podcast. Basically, the first podcast I've really ever done with an actual guest. I did a few with Russell, but Marcel. And again, I was very grateful that Marcel came on the first time. I was shocked that he agreed, but I was very grateful. But we'll kind of jump into Marcel when he started out, and then we'll get into Gilles and stuff. We'll jump back and forth. So Marcel, for you, like I asked you before, when you started in the business, your father was involved. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. We had a farm in Dieppe there, and we were raising colts mostly, and then a little bit of race horses. And I learned to work there, and then that's where it came from. And
yeah, so it's pretty much right from the get-go kind of thing, right?
Yeah, family thing.
Yeah, and so I think you said, did you start like jogging horses and stuff as a kid?
Oh yeah, we always kept jogging them on the farm and everything, and then I finished school and stuff like that. I took a course, electrical mechanic too, and then I. After I got out of there, I had a job at the CN, believe it or not, for 6 months. And that's when I find out that wasn't for me. So I quit that. And my father was happy that I quit, but my mother wasn't. And I got into the horses, and I started training my own stable and everything, and started from there. Got my license in.
So where did you... Okay. I'm going to give you a second here. Just 1 second, guys. I think I'm delaying pretty badly. Let's see here. Can you guys hear me pretty good, or do you find I'm delaying? Everything good?
Nope. No, everything's good.
Okay. It's okay. Just wanted to make sure because I don't want to cut Marcel off because I felt like I kind of messed up that little part there. I'll edit this part out. Okay, perfect. So when you started, Marcel, where did you start at? Did you start in Quebec? Did you start in New Brunswick when you started racing?
No, in New Brunswick. Started in Moncton. It's like I said, I got my license in '67, and I was still working at CNR then, and I was helping Doug Ed Gogan.
Okay.
So he had an old horse there, and he first gave me the starts on him, like, you know, and that was my first win with Belmont Doug.
Nice.
And I drove him a few times. I think it was my 7th lifetime start that I did win. Yeah.
Mhm. I have a
So
picture of
I
you,
went-
actually. Go ahead. I have a picture
yeah,
of you as a
went
kid.
on As a kid.
Yeah, right there.
Well,
You this picture when
I was
when you
there.
came
Well,
up.
there you are. Yeah, that was on the old Leg Burn Road we had 2 farms there, and it was between the 2 farms. Yeah. I don't know who I thought I was there.
That was gonna be a Jeopardy final question. If I ever got Jeopardy going again, I was gonna put that up as the final question. Who's this person on the
Yeah.
horse, kind of thing. But yeah,
Don't,
that was a really
don't
neat.
ask me who the horse. Yeah.
It was a couple of years ago, definitely for sure.
Yes, it was.
Let's see. So,
I didn't know
Russell,
they
do
had
you want-
cameras then.
Did you want to add into that, Russell, to some of Marcel's early days?
No, I kind of remember that from our first podcast that Marcel was in Rockingham and back to Truro, and then eventually on to St. John in 1972, where he had his very, very successful stable, of which we're going to touch on some of the horses from that stable, and that ties in with Jill joining up with that stable in the late 70s. So. But no, I think you had a couple of pictures of some 1970s horses. We might just give a quick comment on to you, I think, Scott.
Yeah, I have the first one here. I think this one here is
Andy's son.
Yeah.
That's Andy's son. Yeah, that was one of my favorites for sure. I was still young then, and we had a whole bunch of them Webbies. Andy's Summertizer Direct. In tempo trotter, the odd trotter that they had, one trotter, Border View Bobley, and there was all kinds of them, like, in and out. But I was only there for years, so when I decided to come back home after that. Yeah,
Well, that was in Rockingham, am I correct?
I was in him, yeah, and in the summertime we went to Foxborough.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And give me
Real
another
Bourgeois
one.
was working for me then too.
Let's go another one here. This one here, I don't know where this. I think this is Montreal, maybe.
No, that was in Quebec City. That was
Okay.
Nerdy's stake there they had in the spring, and that was Gyro Pick who win the stake race with him. Yeah, that was in Quebec City.
Let's take a look here. So I got that there. And I have another cool picture, actually. We talked about this, Marcel. I thought this was Jill in this picture, but I was incorrect.
No, that was the EPR there. That the fellows there, Melvie Vincent and Susan, myself. That was every year we had at the exhibition we had a roadster class like in Simon's Arena, and we always put some horses in there for the fun of it, different people, like, and it was a fun part of it. Yeah,
Very cool.
different.
And what year was that? Does Marcel or Russell might know? I'm not sure.
I would say the late 70s probably,
that
wasn't
would
it,
be
Marcel?
Not late 70s, no. Well, it'd be mid 70s, yeah, mid 70s. But we've done it for years, like, for 4 or 5 years that I can remember. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in there too, Scott. When we showed the first, if I could, when we showed the first picture, and don't worry, Jill, we're getting to you. It's just you haven't been born yet. On the things we're talking about.
No worries, I'm listening. Keep going.
Well, we just talked about Jill being awarded the Hall of Fame, and it's amazing to me as somebody who just loves the history of the sport that Andy's son is not in a Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. And with the credentials he had, I really think he should be somehow put in the veterans category somehow because of the records that he set, Marcel, and how, the notoriety of him throughout the 60s and early 70s.
So very true. Like, just this 3-year-old year, I think, what did he win? 35 races, I think?
Yeah, 35 races as a 3-year-old. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Like, they raced him every week, and for a 3-year-old, unheard of. Like, and it's amazing. Like, he certainly deserves a shot in there. Yeah.
We're actually going to start with Gilles now. We got through Marcel's early years here, and we got through the minimum. I mean, Marcel's early years could be like 2 podcasts right there. So for you, Gilles, like same thing. Grew up in the family. Like you were a fan from the start. Am I gonna guess right away as a kid?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I started early. What did I do? I went to school. I always go to the barn after school.
Yeah.
My father had 6 or 7 horses probably.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got back, as soon as school was over, it was a mad dash to get to the barn, of course.
Yeah.
And then all night there, then go home and school. And anyway, I did that for a few years, started jogging horses early and did that till I would stay with my father till I must have been 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Then he started trucking. Well, St. John was always, we were racing in Moncton then, helping my father. Then St. John was always, everybody's talking about St. John, how good it was. Eh? So my father started racing some there, and I used to follow him, really, go to St. John and help out. And Marcel was there at the time, eh?
Yeah.
So anyway, we kept going back and forth, and I love going to St. John. So anyway, kept going back to Moncton and went to school. And now I think I was 14 or 15, I think, at the time. The summer, Marcel said, geez, you should come out here, come to St. John, help me out for the summer. And that sounded like a good plan. So I did that after school was all done. I think I went to St. John, helped him out, stayed there all summer, and I loved it. I just loved it. And it was time to go back to school now in the fall. Anyway, in the meantime, I decided that it wasn't going to happen. I was going to stay in St. John. So that didn't go very well with my mother and father, of course. Me giving up school and no education. I was only going into grade 10.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got that through. I did stay in St. John, but I'm saying to myself now, is this good for my behalf, or because like I say now that I love horses, I want it to be with horses the rest of my days. But then now I said, if this backfires, I got no education. So holy God. Anyway, I did it. So I worked with Marcel, and I must have worked with him for 5 or 6 years there. And I, got my license, and everything was going well, actually. So that's how I got going.
Nice. Marcel told me a story. Oh, sorry, Russell, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Joel, the other thing that was great fortune for you, and we touched on this with Marcel's podcast, is what a great barn you were in, not just with your uncle, obviously, but all the people that were around that barn were such great role models, all the athletes and all the people. So you were in a perfect environment to start off so young, because sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging environments in this sport, but you were in a perfect one, Joe.
Oh my God, yeah. I met a lot of good people in there. Like you know, he had Marcel had the top-notch stable there at the time. Like, he had all the best owners and people around, like, every day. Like, there was people coming in, like, 10 at a time sometimes, just to come and see Marcel. Like, it was just unreal. Yeah.
I got a cool little picture actually of the stable. We'll bring it up now because we're bringing it up. But if you see here, this is from Marcel's collection. That's the stable there. Who's in that picture there? I think you guys will know.
That's Susan there. Well, first of all, on the left is one of Susan's ex brother-in-law, and then that's Susan, and that's Angie there, Susan's sister, and her friend Julie Kemp.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the barn. Yeah.
I think we have another picture there too.
And there's John, good friend
John Dalton. Yeah. John
Yeah.
Dalton. Mel
Myself
Vincent.
and Mel Vincent and Mickey McDonald with his back to us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, there was always gatherings there, the race nights
Yes,
and
it was,
everything.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good bunch of people.
We had to put the horse away at the back end of the barn because the front end was always full. Yeah.
All the people. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Bruce Maxwell tells me stories about, like, because Bruce would always be there, and he only lived like I think he lived on Dresden, and he said you go down there, on a Saturday night, it was like a happening spot after the races to be around the barns. People were everywhere, right? So it's very cool. Just go into our next thing here. So you actually mentioned like your father raced. Am I correct, Jill? Your father Alfred, he raced also.
Yeah. He was top driver in Moncton for a few years, like 3 or 4 years, maybe, if I'm correct. Yeah, he had like I say, he had a small stable of horses. He had 3 or 4 jobs on the go at the time. He was a hard-working man. He worked at CN and he built houses, and he had horses on the side, and
So he basically never slept, by the sounds of it.
He was a hard-working man.
Definitely. Let's go in. So Russell, let's if you want to talk about some of Marcel's horses from the 70s, I can pop up some pictures there. If you want to go down that road.
Well, on the subject of pictures, first thing I want to say, Marcel, is Susan has just done an amazing job of not just cataloging all these pictures, but having them, a lot of them named that she's provided to Scott, and it's so good because this is what we're seeing on this sport now: is people going to their attics and looking for pictures and posting them, and the pictures that Susan's provided provide some great memories. But there was a couple I think you had, Scott. That one, I got a kick out of that picture with Captain Kiz. Do you have that there, do you?
Yes, I do. Right here.
Yeah, that's that was a horse, I think, Marcel, that you had for a lot of years in your stable. And I know we talked about this, where back in those days, unlike today, the same horse would stay in a barn for years and years and years. And I think that's Susan and Twyla Maharb standing beside you, Marcel.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the amazing part of this picture. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the amazing part of this picture is the fellow trying to grab a hold of the horse is Kevin Mitchell, and strangely, he hasn't changed in size at all since that picture. So
that's Kevin, is it?
That is Kevin Mitchell. Yeah.
And that's another thing too. That's another thing too. That back then, you seen so many little kids like coming around the barns, and you'd get them to walk, or you'd get them to do something, and they were happy with that. Like there was umpteen kids like hanging around the barn, like yeah. So,
that's a lot. I was a kid. As a kid, I would do anything at the barns. Like even as a little boy, I'd hang around there. I wasn't allowed to hang around there, but I would sneak over there, and I would do whatever. Like, they told me to do something. Yeah, sure, I'll shovel. I don't care, because that's like when that gets into your blood. That's in your blood, and you'll do anything. I think
Sure.
Like Joel will confess that when he started out, but
that Captain Kiss, I got him off Lloyd McKinney. He was making breaks and everything. They even tried him on the trot, stuff like that. So then I got him and played around with him and got him going. So that's why he stayed around. Yeah.
It's a very cool picture. Yeah, I appreciate all them pictures too, Marcel. And trust me, people on the page, they appreciate it because when I put your pictures up, that goes. I was joking. I was actually having. I think I was having dinner with Scott Waddell one night, and I have it set up like everything's set up a week before. So it's 6 p.m., 5 p.m. your time. Pictures will come out, and I said to Scott, it was on a Thursday night, and it was 6 p.m. and your stuff came out, and I said to him, "Watch my phone. That thing's gonna blow up in like 15 seconds." Like, why? I said the Marcel pictures went up, and it's just like people go crazy for it. They love it. Right? So,
Yeah, they like old pictures. Yeah.
yeah.
That's probably all the ones that likes them. They're probably all our age too. It
Yeah.
brings back memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the 70s. I wasn't even born for half this stuff, and I love like just seeing them old 70s pictures are great. Did you want me to show more pictures, Russell? Well,
No, I think I think you might want to go in just to that quick clip. We're going to show obviously arguably the most famous race in the Maritimes, and Marcel, you and Jill were involved in more than a few of them. So we're just going to show a couple of quick clips of those and get a couple of quick comments, maybe, if you want to start that, Scott.
Yeah, sure. This is a 1979 Gold Cup and Saucer. About the last, I think, half or so. It comes from Mike Ellsworth. I think Mike set it up, or the guys at CDP did. But basically, they have all the old Gold Cups. So this is the 1979 one. Marcel knows. I think Jill, you probably know. Like, you guys end up getting muted during this, but if you need anything, just wait. But it's like 30 seconds long. Shouldn't be too long. So here we go. Actually, you're not muted because we don't have any sound.
Yeah.
So it actually has. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's Marcel. He's leading with Flying Caper, Scott, and I, as I said in our first podcast, Marcel, I still have nightmares about putting the curse on Al Leiter here, right about this part right here, because they're in a bunch, and we see what happens in about 2 seconds, where poor little Al Leiter makes the jump after I said he was going to win, coming down the stretch, and the whole field goes sideways.
That's wild. Like, I remember watching that and seeing, like, what was that horse doing? Like, when I seen that end finish, that was crazy. You guys know more than I definitely do, like Jill and Marcel, because you guys drive, but that did not look safe at the end of that race. That could just be me.
Then that's early days. You've seen all the people inside the center field. They used to let them turn them loose, like before the Gold Cup and Saucer, and they used to come right to the next to the rail. And now they don't do that. Don't let them do that no more because it scares a lot of horses. It shy away from them. And that's probably mine went out a little bit. And Al Leiter, he was on top of my wheel, so that caused a little stir there.
And unfortunately, Jill, I put the curse on Mike McDonald and Al Leiter that night. And I'm afraid in a little while I did it to you too. So when we get to that part, I'll explain that as well. So, but I think now, Scott, you're maybe going to talk about Gilles working for Marcel and some of the horses that he had early on with Marcel. And then I'm going to maybe come in and talk about a horse we didn't talk about, Marcel, that you and Joel are associated with. And he was one of your most famous stake horses, and I'd like to get a little bit of a backstory on him. But start off, Scott, maybe with Jill and the some of the horses that he remembers early on working with Marcel.
Yeah, so basically, like you said, you went down there in the summer a few times, then you've decided not to stay in school. Now, Marcel told me a funny story, and I don't know I think I'll tell it. I'll get Marcel to tell it. The story about you being in school, and that what happened, Marcel? He was in school. And didn't your sister reach out to you about Gilles having racing books hiding in his textbooks?
Oh yeah, that wasn't from me. That was from one of my sister, the school teacher. She said the teacher related to him, he said he's got no interest in school. She was telling my sister.
None. I had none whatsoever. He didn't even want to.
So anyways, just to show that he didn't, he said. She caught him a couple of times, and we had them harness horse race books. Used to come every week, and she caught him with one of them in his scribbler all the time. Instead of doing work in his scribbler, he was reading harness horse. My
Yeah,
sister said,
I've
I
been
guess
there.
School wasn't
he's
for
got a
me.
future in school. Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to fantasize about it when I was little in school too. So when you started, Jill, so you come down, like what were you doing when you first got down with Marcel? Just basically like grooming, stuff like that?
Yeah, that's all I was doing. I was just a kid then too. So, I was mucking stalls and jogging, training, getting them ready, and just doing whatever grooms used to, how they progressed, learning the ropes.
Yeah.
So did that for a few years, and we had a lot of good horses.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, we're a part of the team. I mean, I got my license and started learning how to drive, and just everything kind of snowballed from there.
Do you remember your first drive, Jill, when you first had your first drive?
Do I? I guess I remember my first drive.
So what was that like?
Alppetite.
Okay,
That
yeah.
was yeah, that wasn't very good. It was I just got my license. Uh Back then you didn't have no qualifying. You didn't have to qualify or anything.
Yeah.
You just automatically go into go behind the gate. So anyway, Marcel put me up on Al Petit.
Yeah.
I drove two, but the first one was Al Petit. Anyway, this guy was a puller too.
Yeah.
Anyway, he wasn't as bad back when I drove him, but beforehand he was quite the puller. Anyway, I think I drew inside anyway, and I sat in the 2-hole, and I was locked in, and I couldn't get out till late, and I finally got out, but he could pull. Oh my God. Anyway, I just got beat. I think it was a photo.
Oh, really?
Anyway, yeah, it was a photo. But anyway, after the mall, I couldn't get this thing pulled up. I think we went a mile after that. He held up the post grade for the next race. People were on the track waving their arm, trying to slow him down, and it was quite a show. It was quite a show. But no, it was
That's
yeah, it was
hilarious.
that was an experience.
Geez, you
Anyway,
never told me about that.
the second one was Master Copy. I think it was
I got a picture of Master Copy.
Copy.
Yeah.
Same night. I think he was second too that night, second or third. But it took me like, geez, 15 or 16 drives to get my first one, I think. Yeah.
Actually,
But that's when it started that night. But it was quite a show.
so what were you?
I forgot
ahead.
about that drive, Jill.
Oh
I forgot
yeah,
about that drive. As soon as you mentioned it, I remembered that. Yeah.
Oh
But,
yeah, couldn't get him stopped after the race.
Yeah.
This thing
Yeah.
just kept going and going, and my arms, like I said, were dead.
That's the
Yeah.
first time. That's the first time I heard about that. You never bragged much about that one.
Oh my, how could you?
That's hilarious.
But it was quite an experience. I mean, for a guy that just wrote his license and got his license, and you never see the starting gate in your life. And now kids do get to see, whoever gets their license, they have to go like so many drives, and they get to see the starting gate. But back then, you just went behind the gate, and I'm going behind the gate, and this thing's pulling 10 ton. Now it was quite an experience.
I can imagine. That's hilarious. That's wild.
Yeah.
I actually have a picture. I was going to save it for later, but we got lots of stuff to go. I have a picture of Master Copy a little bit later on. It's from August of '82. But actually, I'm going to go this way because I have the actual winning photo. There he is there. And then we'll bring up the winner's circle photo. There's Marcel up there.
Yeah.
I don't know who any of these people are.
He was a nice little horse.
Fella
That
in
horse,
there.
really.
Fella next to Gilles there, and he was part owner, and he was kind of a comical. He worked at Telegraph Journal. He'd come in with the coffee once a week, but he was a kind of a funny character, and I put Jill up to drive him. I asked him, he said, would you mind? And him and the other fellow that they were partners. I said, no, he said, he can drive him. So anyways, I put him down and drive, and he finished second, I think. And, he got along real good with him and everything like that. His big thing, he used to come in front of everybody and said, geez, Marcel, he said, he drives him better than you. So I said,
Yeah, I remember
he
that.
gets some better drives than you. And I said, well, that's good. Then he'll keep driving him. So that was Gilles' drive there all the time after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's
he was. There's no that Clint fellow. He was. He didn't hide anything. My God, he'd just call her as it was.
He called her as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's very cool. That's an awesome story about your first drive. That's hilarious. That will be our little teaser when we put up tonight. Russell, you wanted to jump in there and add some stuff?
Yeah, well, I thought maybe we'd bring up the picture and I'd ask a 2 or 3 part question to Marcel and Jill as well, because we didn't talk about this. It's a very famous horse for a lot of reasons. You got his picture there, Scott, Kilcare and Robbie?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
yeah, look at that. No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Roof and Barrieau Memorial. But the question I had, Marcel, you can take it down for a second, Scott, maybe.
Yeah. There you go.
Is if I remember correctly from my research, that Kilcare and Robbie was the highest price yearling ever at the time. And I know he was a half brother to Kilcare and Ella, who had a famous career as well. But I think it was Willis family and maybe Art Craig get into a bidding war way back then. And did he go for something like $18,000 or $19,000 at the sale, Marcel?
17,000.
Yeah.
That was big money then too. Like
Big money, yeah. And that kind of leads me to the second part of my question. With you and Jill, I assume I know the answer, but is there more pressure when you're entrusted with a horse that's the most expensive horse ever bought than some of the other yearlings that you break? Because I know you both have very expensive horses and then horses that aren't so expensive, and you treat them all the same. But does it add a lot more pressure when one comes to the barn that there's been literally a small fortune spent on them?
Not really. It's like you said, we put the same amount of work in every one of them, but when you pay the money, so you got a little breeding naturally and stuff like that, and they develop maybe a little better, like a little quicker. And it seems like you always got something when you come and train them down. Like there's always something left, like, you know, and while other ones, you got to chase them more. But, you know, it's a pleasure to train a horse that's got a little breeding and, you know, got some potential, like I say.
Yeah, and I think Marcel, I mean, this horse had a dominant 2- and 3-year-old season, stakes season, but and Jill, you used to look after him, I suspect, did you?
Yeah, that was a groom. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Nice
he was, and you guys could tell early on he was the real deal, Marcel and Jill.
Jill had a lot of on this. Go ahead, Jill.
No, like I can remember, like, you know, he was a real deal as far as I can remember. Yeah. Like he did everything that he was supposed to, and he was a beautiful, handsome colt too. You could just tell, like, its presence.
Yeah, the other part I forgot to mention or ask Marcel, with that being an island-owned horse, did you know you were getting him initially, or was it kind of just kind of a surprise to you that the Willis family brought him over to you?
No, it was kind of a surprise. Like, you know, I knew of Charlie Willis and Orville and the family, like, you know, for years, but racing against them. And all of a sudden, he just called me during the winter and he said, listen, he said, you got any stalls there? Which my barn was always full. I said, well, geez, not really. I said, but what we're intention, I probably can find some, because I didn't know what he was getting at, but I kind of figured. So anyways, they opened up. I asked Doug, like, you know, if I could get some more stalls. He said, well, geez, there's none to have, eh? But he said, what I'll put you in the paddock, and the second paddock, like, and he said,
yeah,
we'll put you in there, because Doug Caldwell, he wanted him there too, like, you know, because publicity and everything. So that's where I ended up putting that bunch of horses. So you send 5, I think, 4 or 5.
Yeah, oh yeah, you had a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So
I don't think
that's-
anybody minds getting a call that you're going to get the top rated and most expensive colt from the sale in your barn, because you're right off the bat you're probably excited about the opportunity to have a colt like that.
Well, yeah, and it opens more doors
I actually
too.
have
Like,
another.
you know,
Oh.
it opens more doors. Like, you know, when they see somebody showing you interest, that's how I ended up with so many island horses when I was in St. John. Like, you know, everybody used to come in. You got an empty stall. He said, "I'm leaving this horse with you," and that's all that was said. Like, you know, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up
Charlie
this
was
isn't a-
Charlie was a great fellow. I tell you a story about Kilkenner and Robbie. As a 3-year-old, we went to Sydney. We flew down, and I think, Jill, did you take the truck or? Anyways,
I forget now.
the horse was down there, and then they decide, like, you know, to go on strike, to drive trainers and the horsemen down there against the track, so anyways, we were there, like, you know, that's the day we were there. Like, the horse was landed and everything, and then they said then they wanted the colt stake races to race, and Charlie Willis was there, and Charlie said no. He said, if you fellows don't race, we don't race. So they decided to cancel the race. It's like, you know, and we never race. So good old Charlie, he sent somebody there, and there was a lot of he had a lot of friends then. He sent somebody to the liquor store for a case of liquor. So they brought a case of liquor, and everybody was in the liquor that night. Lord Jesus, what a party it turned out to be. The next day we loaded the horse and come back. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring up here. I don't know. This is not. I'm trying to find this picture here. This might be. Oh,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
him again.
Yeah.
That's him again. Yeah. Yeah.
And we have Gilles. You're right at the head of the horse. I'm pretty sure that's you, Gilles.
Yeah, that's me. Big long head of hair.
So where was this at? Does anyone know where this is at?
I think it's Summerside, maybe.
Summerside, it looks like, yeah.
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 Let's see if we can get close up on it here. I got the yeah, it looks like 1980 Atlantic Sire Stakes.
Yeah, that is Summerside. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the old Charlie Willis there and Orville in the back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's right now, guys, I'm gonna pause real quick because I'm gonna do a thing for Red Shores. I spoke to them guys. We're gonna do a quick commercial for Red Shores promoting their return. So just hang tight, and it'll be about 30 seconds. So you've probably seen this before, Gilles. Marcel, if you watch Red Shores, you've probably seen this commercial also. But I'm just gonna pop this in real quick, and we'll be back in about 1 minute. Sound good?
Yep.
It's the Gold Cup and Saucer. They go for $100,000. Showtime! Anthony McDonald, your dream comes true. Sintra has won the Gold Cup and Saucer.
Governor's Plate 54 going to the gate. Showtime! Governor's Plate 54, no plan intended for David Dowling.
Deep stretch now, and that Twin B toughen up for Gilles Barrieau in the Premier's Cup. Down that stretch she comes, and she is the real princess. In line to Corey McPherson on the wire next. He's gonna remain perfect. Irish Ray in line to Mark Campbell in the Home Hardware Maritime Breeder 2-year-old trot. Jesse, Jess, or Jessica gobbling up ground in the passing lane. It is Jesse, Jess, or Jessica for Dowling. Here comes a milestone mile for driver Mark Bradley. He's got the Breeders' Crown final. Our girl Annie, and he has 1,000 career winners. It's a milestone moment for the Maritime Magic Man. Gilles Barrieau picks up win number 5,000.
them. They come back on May 6th, 6 p.m. start time. That's a Saturday. And anyone watching, definitely check it out because Charlottetown's awesome. I watch it every chance I get. If you want any tips on what to bet on, pick the opposite of what I pick, and you'll win. Because I don't bet a lot because of that. My betting skills are horrible. I got teased. We were in Summerside. I was with Russell. We were splitting tickets. And I think you won a race, Marcel, and I won I think it was $9, and I had to split with Russell, so I won $4. But and definitely check HPI out, people. It's really good. It's easy. Just go on HPI.com. Set up they have little content, little deals going all the time and stuff like that. But May 6th, Rice Rose comes back. You'll see Gilles. I imagine you'll be all over that, Gilles. You'll be racing a lot this year coming up.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think you're set. I think you're good.
You think?
Yeah.
Or another try, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump back into it. Marcel, we're going to talk about. Did you want to jump into sound class, Russell, or did you got anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, no. I think we should get a couple of these 30-second videos of some of these great horses and big races, and try to get a little bit maybe behind the scene of what their recollections are, Scott.
Yeah, definitely. So this one here is a 1983 Gold Cup and Saucer. Now, by this point, Jill, you're racing. I wanted to bring up you too about this. You're racing on. You're still with Marcel, but you're doing your own thing. Are you in Charlottetown during this Gold Cup time with him? For 83 with Solid Class?
I think I was, yes.
Yeah.
Or I think I might have stayed home and did barn work there. Because we used to race there back then, and I was driving back then. He'd leave the horses behind, I'd drive them, and he went with him, and I forget who was working with him too, but they'd go to Charlottetown for the week, and I was probably in St. John that week.
Yeah, because they didn't take the week off back then. Then now, now they take weeks off at a time.
No, they didn't.
They'd still race. All right, so we'll bring it up there, and we'll talk about once it's done. This is a 1983 Gold Cup and Saucer with Silent Class.
To the three-quarters, winners accolade to the top. Here comes Silent Class on the outside second. Colwood Clipper, Big Q on the outside fourth. They race by the three-quarters, winners accolade with the lead. Silent Class now to the outside second. Here comes Big Q Autopilot wide fourth. Racing by the three-quarters on to the 7/8. It's winner's accolade. Here comes Silent Class on the outside. They have an eighth of a mile left to go. On the outside, Silent Class racing second, winner's accolade. Here comes Autopilot. They race to the stretch. Silent Class, Autopilot on the outside. Right down to the wire. It's going to be Silent Class, Autopilot, Big Q, winner's accolade, Colwood Clipper.
Yeah, that was quite a trip.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you want to take that one, Russell? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no. We talked about it, I know, on the first podcast, and as Marcel, I believe, said, you just don't know what that experience is like unless you've lived through it, and just the whole atmosphere with the tradition, and then to be fortunate enough to win it, because it is hard to win that race. And little Silent Class. I know Marcel, as you said, he was a handy little horse, but he wasn't the fastest. But he would always give you everything he had to the wire, and he needed it that night to the wire. So
yeah, he was tough. They tried to set you back that night, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Wally Hennessy, with Autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Autopilot was coming on the outside. And
you're on the
checked
run.
it, and he was on the run. But that Silent Class, he used to throw steps into and everything like that. He wasn't a perfect gaited horse, kind of poker-legged. He just kind of make a skip, he never run. He'd never run that horse, but he just made a skip. We're at him pretty good, But one thing I got to mention there, watching us coming down the lane there, the whipping part of it, how we were bad too, and no wonder they changed that, and for the best too, harness racing is so much better now, yeah, but it's unbelievable, yeah. We were at them a little too much too, but we had to win the race. Yeah, but every big race like that, like, you know, it's after the race that you realize what you've done, like, you know, winning the race. I think we went on all night that night. We loaded the horse at 5 in the morning, catch the first boat at 6 o'clock or 6:30, I think it was, and go back home. But, you know, and you had lots of people to party with. You know, everybody was up at 5:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting race to win.
That must have been an interesting boat ride home with all you guys in that boat, because you win at like midnight. You get on the boat around 5. So I'm assuming, like I said, there's some partying going on between midnight and 5 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty tame going home, though.
Didn't want to get kicked off the boat.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with that. Like when I watched the Gold Cups, there's a Gold Cup later we saw with Joe where he basically just wins from the start. I think I have to cut it in half because you basically go to the front. We'll talk about it later. But they're always usually pretty close races. Like I went to my first one live this past summer, and I was blown away by it. It was fantastic to see it live. It was really packed, and it was ridiculously hot in Charlottetown that day. But it was a great time. And the Gold Cups, it's for anyone who's never seen it. I mean, obviously, like live, I'm saying it's definitely an experience to check out, because I was kind of like, when I left, I was like, how's a lot of people? I don't know if I'll do that again. But I got over that pretty quick. I'll definitely be going back this year again. It was a good time. So I'm going to bring up, if you want to add anything to that, Russell, you can go ahead if you want.
No, I think we're just going to touch quickly on a pretty pivotal moment in Jill's career where you were assigned, were hired to drive for the Paul Dare stable, Jill. And that stable in the early 80s was a dominant stable with some great horses. And obviously, Colombo Sealster being probably the most famous one.
Yeah.
And everybody loved Colombo Sealster because of how great a horse he was. But you know who didn't love Colombo Sealster? That would be me. And you know why? Because every time when I would go into the barn to say hi to Bruce McDonald or Randy Phillips, that horse would stick his head out and try and have me for lunch. So I never liked Colombo Sealster. I'm going to state that publicly, because he was always had his eye on me for a snack. So, yeah. but that's okay, because I would just go across the alleyway to his brother, that sweet little Carmen Sealster, who was just a great little horse and friendly horse. So there you go. But you had a great stable and some very, as they say, live drives with that stable, didn't you, Joe?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I'll tell you how that worked out. I was working with Marcel at the time, and I don't know who approached me. Must have been Paul himself. But anyway, I said, "Oh my." Anyway, I talked to Marcel about it. I said, "Oh, geez, I didn't want to leave him, or I was scared to leave him or whatever." But I said, "Geez, I got offered to, go work for Paul Dares. What do you think?" And he advised me to go. It was a good break for me. And at the time, he had some nice horses. And we did good. I mean, like I say, he had some power. He had Colombo and Carmen Sealster, Sassy Cat. Like, they're all old veteran horses. They just knew what to do, eh? All I had to do was sit behind them and, but they're just a good bunch of horses. I don't even know how long I lasted. I think I might have lasted 2 years there, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he was
on his,
like that. I think that was, because I think all them horses were getting older and he wasn't buying anymore. And I think he was just on his way out back then, too.
Yeah.
I think I lasted a couple of years, but it was a good run. I mean, I don't regret it one bit. After I left him, I just had enough of it. And I think I went back with Marcel, too, at the time after that. So, no, it was a good run. I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I do want to make it clear, I had the utmost respect for Colombo Sealster as a racehorse. I just didn't like the way he behaved at me in the barn. So let's make that clear.
Yeah, he was a little different.
He was steady, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I think, Scott, you have a couple of... Yeah, you have a couple of clips coming up of Marcel with his most famous EPR horse, arguably. if you want to maybe
Yeah.
get them rolling.
I was going to show one more thing to Gilles, because this is my pride and joy. The horse that I still say was named after me, even though he wasn't. This here is Scotty's Return. And actually, you can't really see it because it's a program I got here.
Scotty. Yeah.
If you look down there, he's also eligible in a baby race. So I don't know how great he was, but I'll tell you, for years, I was convinced. I was convinced that horse was named after me, and I'm still convinced that they didn't name that horse after Scott.
No, I can correct that, Scott, because I was with your mother last night, talking to your mom last night. That horse was not named after you.
Yeah.
That horse was named after his father, Scotch Gorman, because your mother wanted finally to have a horse named after Scott, or have somebody named after Scotch Gorman that was good looking.
Yeah.
So that's why they named it Scotty's Return. That little colt. He was a nice little colt, actually. So
I remember that.
If I remember right, didn't he have at the time? Didn't he win a maiden race? Was the fastest maiden?
Yeah, that's
ever
right, Joe. Yeah. For a maiden, he had the record. Yeah, because he was really. I think he was a little bit ahead of the other colts at that time, and had some really quick speed. And you're right, when he broke his maiden, it was the fastest break ever.
It was 2.5. 2.5.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It was a record at the time.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, times have changed.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that horse as a kid. I was, like I said, as a kid, I don't think they had the heart to tell me it wasn't named after me. I'm pretty sure they just didn't say anything. He
definitely wasn't named after you. All right, he definitely wasn't named after you.
Like I said, I think they didn't have the heart to tell me. I mean, let's just let them think it. But yeah, that was kind of fun. I was actually doing some programs, and I seen that pitch. I'm like, oh, it's Sky's Return. I thought it was kind of cool, and it was I think it wasn't maybe his first start that year, but he was also eligible. So, and I seen your name on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. Gilles drove him.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to jump into which is actually a race. This is my favorite. I don't want to say my favorite race at EPR of all time, but the favorite one that I have. It's Provincial Cup 1984. And before I jump into it, I got the last half. The thing I find cool about it is when they did the EPR on Channel 10, the first year they didn't take the mic off the crowd. They literally had the crowd mic'd. And the funny story behind that was I was watching one from like early 84. I'm not going to say what the person said, but you heard someone say, "Go after yourself, Ingham." What Ingham's talking, and someone the crowd screams it out. And you could hear it clear as day on the Channel 10 broadcast. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. Then that's when they kind of realized, okay, you gotta get this crowd quieted down a little bit. But this is Provincial Cup 7, 1984. Marcel's racing with Angel's Shadow. It's the last half, and I'll throw it up, and we'll kind of talk about when it's done. So here it comes.
Here's Accolade up and at him on the outside, racing on a strong second. Supreme Jade is a third. Angel's Shadow driving up fourth. Winder's Accolade goes for what he shows on top. It is Winner's Accolade. Earl's Pocket on the outside. Angel's Shadow a strong third. Supreme Jade is fourth. Daddy Warmark's going up to fourth. Supreme Jade is fifth. 128 and 4 by the 3/4. Into the top turn, Winder's Accolade. Look who's at his wheel. It is Angel's Shadow, and he's coming on. Daddy Warbucks to the outside. Pearl's Falcon on the inside. They swing for home. Winder's Accolade, Angel's Shadow driving up a strong second. Winner's Accolade, Angel's Shadow. Here comes Supreme Jade. Here comes Daddy Warbucks to the wire. It is going to be Winner's Accolade, Supreme Jade, Angel's Shadow. Time for the mile. 59 and 3.
Crowd is going crazy. That's the thing. It was cool because they had the crowd mic. Don Ferguson actually fixed, I think, how to not mic the crowd, but that was a good part of the crowd being mic'd in that race because you could hear them. Obviously, they're going crazy, right? Yeah. So, Marcel, can I ask you? I was thinking of this when I was editing it last night. When you're in a race like that, because you've been in a lot of big races, with the crowd's really into it, do you kind of notice that, or is that just kind of blocked out? And Gilles, you could say the same thing because you've been in big races too.
No, it's pretty well blocked out. You're so focused on the race itself. You don't hear the crowd unless you come to the wire about 10 lengths ahead, then you might hear them. But, when you're in thick of things, like, you just concentrate on what you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same goes with me. You're in a race, you don't hear the crowd at all. Like I say, if you get in front of the grandstand, you're all by yourself, you'll hear them then. But other than that, you're just focused on what you're doing.
And same goes for the announcer too, like the track announcer. Like you don't hear Vance or anyone. Don't hear a thing. That makes sense.
No.
So your memories. We talked about Angel's Shadow in your previous podcast, Marcel, but we can kind of go over it again. And actually, Gilles, if you have memories of Angel's Shadow, because you were around with Marcel at that time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Big, good looking horse, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I got him as a 2-year-old. That's the same case, like, in Murray Wade, like he had 4 or 5 horses, and he come to the barn and asked me if I'd take the whole bunch of them, like, to race them. I was in St. John, and there again, I had no stalls in my barn, so I opened up another barn. I got 4 stalls, I think, on the other barn, and Jill's brother then was he came to work for me, Real, and that was his section there. Like, and he done a pretty good job of them. It was Tipster and Angel Shadow, and there's a couple other ones. I can't remember all their names, but and I raced him 4 or 5 times as a 2-year-old. And he was having problems around the turns. Like, he wasn't just strong as he should. And then when he come back as a 3-year-old, that provincial cup, he was just a 3-year-old then. And he was racing against a Bearcat, like, and as a 3-year-old, he just matured like you wouldn't believe. I went to Montreal with him in the fall. That's the fall I went in '84. And I had him, and I think he reeled off 6 in a row there at Blue Bonnets. And, he was just an amazing animal. Just leave the gate like a jet, like, and then you'd cut your own mile. He used to drive himself, like, he's a smart horse. Yeah. And then as a 4 and 5-year-old, and then lameness issue come up on him. And, yeah, we retired him early.
Did you want to add into that, Russell?
No, except it's as great a horse as Angel Shadow was, he just had a little bit of bad timing that he had to race another great horse in Winner's Accolade a lot here in Atlantic Canada, Marcel. And what kind of a record would Angel Shadow have had if Winner's Accolade wasn't in the picture? So we're going to show his next race. It's one of the most famous stretch drives in Gold Cup history, and don't worry, even though you guys are losing a couple of these races, we're going to finish with some wins, okay? Yeah. But I really want to see that stretch drive of Angel Shadow, Scott, so I can ask Marcel what he was thinking after the race or at the wire, if he thought he won it or not. You want to show that now?
Yeah, and I'll tell a story behind this one. I had just seen this race for the first time probably like a year ago, and this blows my mind, this finish. Even though I wanted you to win, Marcel, you come very, very close, but we'll bring it up. It's a fantastic finish. I think everyone's seen it, but if someone's watching for the first time and hasn't seen it, get ready for a great finish. And here it comes up, Gold Cup and Saucer, 1986.
Half mile in a minute, 2/5. It's Angel Shadow on top. Berners Delight second. Cruz Compton on the outside third. Ocho down along the rail. Red Your Engine is flying on the outside. Racing down the long stretch, going by the freight quarters. Angel Shadow. Here comes Red Your Engine. He's flying up alongside Angel Shadow. It's Angel Shadow. Red Your Engine keeps on coming. 1:31 by the freight quarters. Angel Shadow. Red Your Engine. They're neck and neck. Two of them in contention. Angel Shadow. Red Your Engine is coming on. Red Your Engine. Angel Shadow. Angel Shadow. Red Your Engine. Who's going? Who's going? Angel Shadow. Up for 3 is Ocho. Ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed quite a horse race here at the CD.
Jeez, what a race, what a call. My question, I guess, Marcel, I mean, it was knee-deep mud, But did you or Phil Pinckney have any idea who did win it at the wire? Or did you both look at each other and say, who won?
Yeah, we were just looking at each other and talking to each other. You win it? I don't know. I think you did it. He said, I don't know. We kept going back and forth. We didn't know. And like you said, it was knee deep that too. And you know, when you think of it, like, you know, like when he come up on the inside, after you race in the mud, like all these races and everything, the rail gets really deeper than the outside, so right there, like the last half, he had the better edge, like, you know, but he was a great horse, both of them, like, but this Angel Shadow that year there, like, he was second and just got beaten the Gold Cup, but he win the Governor's Plate, he win in Toronto, and Truro, what's the big race they had there, Truro, and then
Exhibition, or
you know, he win not the Crookshank, no, but he did win the Crookshank too. Like, you know, he had a fabulous year, like, you know, and what?
The Conroy was
Johnny
it or something?
No, Conroy, yeah.
No?
So, anyways, and I don't know, no, it was the Exhibition Park something, yeah.
Exhibition
So
Cup,
anyways,
I think, in Truro. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's right, Exhibition Cup, yeah. So, anyways, like, you know, he had a super year, like, you know, and Post Call, they had a contest, like, you know, to pick the horse of the year, and he win it hands down, and but the Maritimes, they give it to that year to Ian Smith's horse, Hanover,
Rumpus Hanover?
Rumpus Hanover, and he hadn't raced one race in the Maritime. I was kind of down on that. You know, I felt real bad that this horse never got horse of the year in the Maritimes once. And, you know, all the winning that he done, he win every big race there was, except this Gold Cup and Saucer, like, you know, and I was very disappointed that he never got horse of the year, but through Post Call, he did get the horse of the year, you know.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I think Scott will jump over to maybe when Marcel did the move to Montreal with his stable, and did you leave some horses, or Jill, do you remember if you had a few horses left with you while Marcel went to Montreal?
The first winter, I think him and Wally went to Montreal, and I stayed behind with some, but I think he was coming back and forth that year.
Yeah.
So, no, he had some left. He had a full barn home, and he had like 10 or 12 in Montreal, I think, that winter.
I have a question regarding something, and I could be incorrect about this, and I don't know where I heard the story, but was there any point, Jill, you were considering going to the States early on and Marcel talked you out of it? Now, I don't know for sure if this is true. I don't know where I heard the story at. I could be in my imagination because I'm crazy like that. But is there any truth to that you actually considered going down to Florida early on, and Marcel kind of told you maybe not?
Yeah, that was a good. No, I think what's his name? Steve Maher approached me. Was it Steve Maher? I think so. Go to Florida and work for him in Pompano.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of, you know, it sounded good at the time. Really nice. I liked the heat and sounded good. And I was I mentioned it to him, and anyway, never. That's as far as it got.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could have. Yeah, I thought I heard that before. I don't know where. I remember writing my form. I thinking, where did I hear that at? But I heard it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have some actually Steve's Pompano races. He gave me some of them. So I'm gonna just bring something up quickly, and then we'll jump back in. This is just a random thing. Reading some of your info, Jill. Did you employ the wrestler, the Beast, that pro wrestler from Moncton? Did he work for you for a little bit as a trainer? I think it was.
No, I worked with him.
Oh, you worked with him. Okay.
Yeah, I worked with him. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No,
I worked with him. Actually, it was Francis Beliveau, the Belco stable, it was called.
Okay.
They were situated in Dieppe there, and they were in the business. They were buying yearlings every year, and he was buying them and reselling them, like getting them to the races and selling them. And, anyway, I don't know what I was doing at the time. I have no idea. I don't know. Marcel must have been in Montreal or something.
Mhm.
But anyway, I went to work with him for a couple of years. Yeah, that was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work with
Yeah, they
some-
kind of had it. They kind of had a good one, didn't they, Jill and Falcon Sealster?
I wasn't there at the time though.
No.
This was
So he just
after.
turned. I just think it's great that a horse that was broken and I got to strangely enough I got to see him race his first 2 starts in Moncton, and then to go
Yeah.
on to become a world champion. That's just great for Atlantic Canada, I think.
Oh, he was a great fellow to work for, that guy.
Yeah.
Not to be friends. Yeah. Great guy.
I want to go through some pictures real quick there before we jump into more stuff on Usual, because I have a bunch of stuff here for Marcel's. Because again, as people know, we have Marcel Barrieau Thursdays and on the Facebook page, and that's the biggest day of the week for everybody. So let's go through some of these old pictures here and kind of just drop down on them. So we have here, there is.
Jeez, what do we got here?
Now, who wants to tell a story on that one?
That's Farrier Velvet. And then on the inside, that's Phil Sowers.
Okay.
No, they promoted Standardbred Canada, which was Canadian racing before. Like they promoted that. They went to every track with them high wheel sulky, like to put on the show and everything. They went everywhere, so. This night we had that in St. John, so we had a feel of them 5, I think there was. Yeah, so they ended up catching Phil Sowers.
So how was that to do that? That must have been awful different to race without them wheels.
It was, but we laughed the whole way. Like, I mean, you had a smile on yourself, like you couldn't believe you were sitting like that.
Yeah.
And you were worrying that the wheels wouldn't collapse. That's the big thing about them.
Yeah.
But,
How fast was they went there? How fast was they went there?
He went in 2:11, I think, around that.
Yeah.
2:11 or
Yeah, they went pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good trip.
It was up to decent miles. And then they had them wheels, the bicycle there. Yeah. That's Neil Kelly there way in the back, and that's Phil Sowers' wife. What was her name? Joan. Yeah. And all the kids around there. Yeah. Yeah.
That was I'm wondering, I might have that program. I have to look that up. Because you weren't racing. That was an exhibition race. You wouldn't be racing for money.
No, that went in between races. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's fun. I have a really nice picture here let's bring that up.
Yeah, this is one.
All of Flash.
All of Flash, one of my little favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, all of Flash.
Yeah, he wasn't big, but he was a nice little, useful little horse. Yeah.
He was mighty.
Yeah.
And I have another really cool picture. I like this one here. It's kind of like the way it's shot. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's very well. Yeah. He needed a big one. Yeah. There was snow, like you can see. I don't miss that.
Wasn't Marcel? Wasn't he nicknamed the Gray Ghost or something?
No, not him, because he wasn't real gray. Like, he was kind of a blueberry roan, they called it, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was roan, like they call blueberry roan, I think, or something like that. But he wasn't a gray horse. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very pretty horse. Yeah.
Me and Mo Doherty.
Go ahead.
Me and Mo Doherty bought him.
Yeah.
And I want to bring this couple more up, and then we'll get into we're going to get to the 1990 Gold Cup with Usual. So I'm bringing a couple pictures up here again. And this one here, we got
that's Flying Caper.
Yeah.
Governor's Plate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Dave Nicholson at the
horse's head. Yeah.
Yeah. He passed away this year.
Yeah.
Very sadly. Blaine Baglow in the back, and Mike Murray there. He's talking to Mike Murray. No,
Yeah.
no.
Look at that. Yeah.
No, John Dalton. John Dalton. He's talking to John Dalton. And
Oh,
in
that's
the picture there, Mike Murray. Mike Murray wouldn't watch the horse race, eh? And everybody was wondering where he was. And he came running down the home stretch. He was behind the barns. He was too nervous to watch him go. And that's why his hair all up here, Mel Vinson there. Yeah.
Geez,
That was another celebration night. That was a
I
lobster
wasn't there.
night.
Yeah.
No, Gilles had to mind the fourth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like Dave and Blair's my uncle because Blair married my mother's sister. They look identical. Yeah. Like it is crazy how much they look alike, the Nicholsons. Like
it's
I would think
unbelievable how Dave looks like Blair now.
Yeah, it's
back
wild.
Then.
Real good people.
Their brother Neil too. He was in the horses too. Neil.
Yeah.
Hockey player and everything.
Yeah, no, real good people. I've spoke to Neil a little bit on Facebook, and obviously, like I know Blair because it's my uncle, and a great guy, real good guy. When I was younger, Blair was pretty father figure to me a lot. I spent a lot of time with Blair and Patty. Really good people. I'm going to bring up Flying
Good family.
Again. Yeah.
Back them days, there, Dave was one of my grooms on race night. We usually race 8 or 9 or every race day, and Dave Nicholson was one of them. He used to come and give us a hand. His father was the starter then. And John Dalton, Gary Marsh, unbelievable, like the people that was there. Yeah.
I have another one here, and then we'll.
The Fennels, they'll always be at the races. Yeah, that's the Alexander Memorial. Yeah.
Real nice picture of that one there. 1979.
79. After that race, Peter Murray there, and he knew a friend there. We closed down a tavern in town, and we took it over. Had a big party there. Yeah.
Yeah, you good. Go ahead, Russell.
Well, I was just going to say, 1979 was the season of Flying Caper, wasn't it, Marcel? You had a lot of thrills with him. And I think the only disappointing one was when you made the long trek to Sydney, and he made which he never would do. He made a break, I think, that night behind the gate, and that's a long way to go to be to have a misfortune strike.
Yeah, because he was right good then. He had just beat Power Baron a couple of times there, and he was on top of his game. And for some reason, I tried to turn him, and he wouldn't turn, and they called us to the gate, and he wouldn't turn. And I was playing with him, trying to get him, and I tried to get him in gate early, and he went on the run, but the starting gate were waited they were about an eighth of a mile ahead, and just left me behind. They used to have recall back then, but that day there, they never had a recall. Yeah. It was a long trip back.
Yeah, from Sydney. Yeah. Are you gonna ready to show the Gold Cup from 1990? I just want to preface it for a second, if I could, Scott.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, Jill, that was that your first Gold Cup drive? Was 1990 with a horse that I did love and I did like, was On Broadway.
No. First Gold Cup drive, Marcel gave him to me.
Who was that?
Big D.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Big D, yes. Was it 87 or 88? Yeah. Now I remember that. But on this particular race here, Jill, I think that on the Gold Cup trial on Broadway, he was just a monster. I can kind of remember you flying up the inside, going to the 3/4 pole, and then shook loose, and he was just dominant in this trial. And then for the final, you drew the rail, which is exactly where you want to be on a half-mile track. And Scott, you roll the race, and then I'll mention something after it finishes. Okay.
All right. So this is the last, I think, half of the Gold Cup and Saucer, 1990, coming up.
4 by the half, there by the 5/8. It's Bubba on top. Charlie Sham parked out second. Tiger Bird looks for Racing Rail. Up on the outside on Broadway's going 3 wide of fourth. There by the 3/4 mile mark. Bob is still in command. Tiger Bird, Shirley Shim on the outside. Here comes On Broadway, 3 wide fourth. They are midway around the final turn for home. 1:27 and 4 by the 3/4. It's Bob. On Broadway is coming on. Shirley Sham. It's Bob. On Broadway's on the outside. It's Bob taking him to the line. Here comes Tiger Bird. Bob and Tiger Bird. Tiger Bird is coming on. Tiger Bird. Tiger Bird wins the gold. Cup and saucer. Bob is second. On Broadway will be.
Well, I have to confess, Jill, I kind of did the same thing to you that I did to Mike McDonald with Al Leiter in 1979. Whoever I was watching the race with coming around the last turn, I said, On Broadway's got this race in the bag. He worked out a perfect trip, Jill has, and as soon as he comes 3 wide, he's got it all won. So I apologize for that, Jill.
No, when he was a strange horse, this horse. When he was good, he was good. Like he was good in the trial. And that night there, a trip like that, if he'd have been as good in the trial, he would have demolished them. But he was just come up flat. You know, he was a strange horse. You just didn't know what you were getting day in, day out.
So you're not going to blame me for that loss?
No, I'm not going to blame you.
You can.
I know the horse, and he was just in and out. When he was good, he was good, and it's nothing that's we do to him, you know. It's just,
because you drove a perfect race and you had him right where you wanted him at the 3/4 pole, second over.
I know at the 3/4 pole. Usually, you know, he's uptight, but he wouldn't even keep up that night.
Yeah.
We have a better one coming up for you. One where you win. So we're good for that. We have a couple that you win. We have 1 and 2. 2 of them that you win. We're going to try to get a talk over one that you win. We're going to test it because our internet's acting up today. So we'll see if it works. And they might just hear you talking about it and not seeing it. But either way. So I have here, Marcel, you go to Montreal in 86 permanently. You said you had come back and forth a little bit, but you had gone to Montreal permanently in 86 and got pretty successful. And we'll get back to some of your horses in a second. Jill stays here in St. John. Now, I had an interesting. I'll let the people know, and I'll bring people up now. When I do the podcast, it's not all me by any stretch of the imagination. I get information from everybody. Scott Waddell gave me some info. Pat Eastwood, Jerry McCabe, everybody. I go to everybody for info. And I got an interesting tidbit where Ingham Palmer mentioned that Crafty Jason really put Jill's on the map. Do you remember Crafty Jason, Jill?
Yeah, chestnut horse. Yeah. Horse from Cocan, Casey's. Yeah.
I've heard the name.
Horse.
Yeah. Now, did you win any big races with that horse? Because I'm not totally sure.
No, he wasn't that kind of a horse. He was just an overnighter in St. John.
Yeah. Ingham must have really liked him then, because Ingham said it put you on the map. So maybe the person that gave you the info.
Horse, Marcel? You remember the horse. Yeah,
I drove him too.
He was a hot little horse. Like he wore a 4-ring overcheck, and he was a firecracker. But no, there was nothing special about him. I didn't think anyway.
No. Yeah, I remember him seeing doing tapes and hearing the name because I was just I didn't.
He wasn't even a top class horse.
No. I think he might have worked his. I think he might have worked his way up to the top class once or twice, but he never really. He wasn't.
Yeah.
No. He was like the 3rd class down.
So 1990.
I think I win the first race at Champlain Raceway with him.
Yeah.
Jill?
I
don't remember. I win the first race with him in Champlain Raceway, I think. When they opened up.
Yeah, you drove him some. I know you did, but I don't recall.
Yeah. I think I win the first race at Brunswick at Champlain Raceway. Yeah, when they opened up.
Well, there you go. He is famous for something. That little chestnut, then, isn't he? So
there you go.
Give him his credit. Yeah. There we go.
That's great.
So and I'll bring up one more thing, Jill, then we'll start jumping through some more pictures. So we have a ton of pictures to go through. Let's bring up some owners and I had a horse, Magnetic Benka. Do you remember that horse?
Oh, do I ever? He was one of my favorites, actually. Yeah. You know what? To this day, I just seen a picture on Facebook of him. He's some lady. He's got him now. He's broke to the saddle, and he looks like $1 million. And
Really?
he's like 20.
He's
gotta be
23.
20,
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, I can actually. I know the lady that has him, Jill, Shannon, and she's a sweetheart. And she took the horse in. She used to have riding horses. She comes to my work every month. She works in the auto business. A very, very nice lady, and that horse has a better life than you or I can tell you that. So,
I know that. Yeah, it's good for him.
yeah,
That's good. It's a couple owners. Ray Fraser. Does that ring a bell? I think.
Yeah, they're great people. They both passed away since then. They're great.
I think you did some drive for John Davies too. I think a little bit of drive for John.
Davies, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody drove for Big John.
Yeah.
You
drive for.
Yeah.
You drive for Chris now, Chris Davies. You do some driving for
Chris,
him.
yeah.
His little kid, his little boys there with their little uniforms. I joked around with Chris, like, where was that when I was a kid? I would have died for that as a little boy. Get my father's car, I would have been in heaven. That's great.
They're cute. Yeah.
Let's bring up a couple more pictures. I got a ton of them. I don't want to leave any out. Where do we go? Let's bring up all flashes. I think there we are. Let's see, all flash 1983, and we can reminisce on the people that are in the picture and stuff, and kind of talk a little bit about that.
Old Sean Dooley and Terry Cunningham, and Ricky Collins. Ricky Collins holding the head. Yeah.
Who's beside Sean there? Who's that?
I thought it might have been Pat Eastwood.
Yeah,
Pat Eastwood.
Pat Eastwood.
Yeah.
Oh, is that him?
Remember, he was always around the barn, eh? Nice little kid.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Our statistician on the EPR page. If you needed any results or anything you don't know, Pat will tell you. And Pat's
there's two of my EPR wingers.
Yeah.
Cunningham and Dooley.
Yeah.
We had quite a fun there too, like ball and hockey. Jill was on it for a while too. Yeah.
Yeah. Just played hockey. Yeah.
He didn't play ball. No. Yeah. So twice a week Susan always told me, he said, when we moved to Montreal, he said, you had your retirement already. Now you got to work. Yeah. Race 5 nights a week there in Montreal. Now you got to work.
Shout out to Pat too, Eastwood. He's another guy, because I'm forgetting names. Pat is incredible when I do podcasts. I'll be like, hey, I need some info. You got anything? And he'll see it, and I'm like, he's seen it. Where's he at? And then the next day he'll give me just lists of stuff. Here's all your stuff you need.
Unbelievable, isn't he? He knows everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's we had a little, I wouldn't say we had a little disagreement, but I posted a picture of Scotch Gorman from 1975 or 74 was early, and I think he tried to say it was another horse. It's not, it's Scotch Gorman. And we were kind of friendly arguing on Messenger, and I was getting a little salty. I'm like, I think I know my grandfather's horse, and then he got stopped. Now Pat's a great guy, really good at giving info out for sure. Yeah. This is another one. I like this picture. Get out, Lou. Is that what this horse is? And he looks like his head. Lou, his head's up in the air there.
Yeah, get out, Lou. A nice little useful horse. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I like the look on your face, Marcel.
Every week. What?
I like the look on your face. You're looking like, what's he gonna do? Because
he was a little funny. He could rear up and go back, or that's why I never took my eyes off him.
Yeah. I want to mention something, and I mean, it's popped in my brain because I watch, good amount. I've taped tons of horse races. Have you ever been in a situation, either one of you, where I've seen horses that at the finish, at the post race, taking their picture where they're getting a little anxious. Have you ever had it where you're just like, okay, we gotta get this horse out of here right away? It must have happened a couple times to you guys, where when the horse is getting the picture taken and someone's trying to hold them, and you're like, we need to get this horse out of here before something bad happens. I would assume it's happened to you guys.
Yeah, or some of them you can't even stop. You just got to keep going through the picture because they'll rear up, or But
Yeah.
most of them are pretty good, though. But you get the odd one that won't stop, or they'll just rear up.
Now, is that just like hyperness on the horse's behalf? Is that what that is, pretty much?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, just all wired up on the race.
All keyed up after a race. And
Makes sense. All right, let's show one more. Then I'm going to jump into. We'll let Russell hop in. Russell clicked his little board over there. He's kind of just sitting there staring.
Fine.
I'm going to show another picture here. This is a good one. I'm popping out of the podcast, so we're not worried about me. This one here, we have a bunch of people in this picture. Marcel, you're in there, and I guess we can try to figure out who else is.
That's the 1,000 club winners.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them in theirs win over 1,000 race. I don't know what year that was. There's Joe Gogan from left to right. Joe Gogan, myself, Red Clark, Doug Caldwell, Phil Peckney, Clarky Smith, Herman Rowe, Doug Walsh, Rankin, Soupy Campbell, Roach McGregor, Chicky Charlton. No, that's
I was going to say Will Kerr. Oh, is it?
No. Oh yeah, Will Kerr. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
And Kenny Kay from Halifax, and the great Harvey Cormier from Moncton, and Gary Daniels. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I remember all them people. That's yeah. You want to add into that, Russell? Go ahead.
No, that's yeah, you're right. That is amazing, Marcel, because some of them aren't in their uniforms, and you were still able to pick them out of the group. So that is exactly who they all are.
Yeah. I don't know why that was. Like, they weren't in their uniform, because I thought we had everybody drove. But
where was that?
maybe
St.
they drove.
John or?
St. John, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug Caldwell used to host that. Like he used to have different things like that.
That's nice. Yeah, that's really.
See,
cool.
they probably drove their suit and to have a few beers or whatever.
Yeah.
Willard. Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of like hopping all over the place here. I'm going to bring up a horse of Marcel's, Almerhus Cruiser, which I got its information from Matt. I think LeBlanc is his last name. He sent me some stuff on that horse. So I'm going to find a picture of him. And I have a question, which you guys all know the answer to this. I'm pretty sure I do too. So here he is here, Almerhus Cruiser, who you had in Montreal. We do have a race coming up from him from St. John. The X, is the X no betting? What's that all about, Marcel? I know it's a novice question. And I'm pretty sure because the horse was so good you couldn't bet. But am I right about that?
Yeah, you're right. He laid over the field so bad. Like, I mean, they were minus spool every time that they let him on, so they used to take him out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was I bought that horse the year of the strike in Montreal. I think it was 95.
Mm-hmm.
I give $5,000 for him in Harrisburg, and brought him home and got him going. And Jesus, he just kept going and going and going. As a 2-year-old, like I think he lost twice, but both times it was one time he received a whip in the face there, and he went on the run and still come back and finish fourth. And then the next time he jumped behind the gate and he still win. Yeah.
Wow.
So he was quite a pony. Yeah. As a 3-year-old in the spring, I went to Meadowlands with him.
Okay.
And he was in Barry's Creek, 3-year-old open they had. And I win the elimination with him and finished. That was a model 52 back then.
Wow.
Yeah. No, and then lameness come. I raced him in the Provincial Cup in Toronto, and he hit a leg there, broke a splint bone, and I had a problem with that after, and I raced him a few times, but I quit with him after. Still living on a farm. I gave him to a friend of mine there, and I think he's 28 or 29.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
I love that.
$1 million too.
Good. That's great. I love hearing about the whole horses being on the farms. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now we had the Barrieau McIsaac from '97 race. with 95. I think it's 95. I apologize. With Elmhurst Cruiser. Russell, do you want to kind of add something to this race before I show it?
No, I think it's 96. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it might be 96.
Yeah, and it's elimination. But yeah, as Marcel mentioned on our first podcast too, I remember seeing that horse win the Berries Creek in the Meadowlands. And as I said to Marcel, when you're in the Meadowlands and that Berries Creek and you're racing Hot Lead and a few of those other top 3-year-olds, and you know that's as big as it gets in 1996 in this industry, Marcel. So, you know, he was a great little horse, as you said, and health problems. Unfortunately, we would have had an even longer career.
Yeah, for sure.
So this one here is I got these number by numbers, which I shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have named them. I'm just hoping I clicked on the right one. This one here's about 4 minutes long. Same thing. It's a muted, but we'll go show this race and we'll talk about when we come back. This is, I think, Barrieau McIsaac 96. I'm pretty sure. Here it comes up with Elmhurst Cruiser and Marcel driving.
$1,000 final of the Barrieau McIsaac Memorial. Alfred and Steve Mahar, Woodmere Connie, Paul McDonald. Could Be Magic with Earl Smith, Island Quizite and Danny O'Brien. Meductic Molly, Gary McDonald. Elmhurst Cruiser, Marcel Barrieau. Clonmel Caper with Danny Romo. Ling DeFu and Gilles Barrieau trailing the final Brett with Mike McDonald. 9 starters for the 12th and final. Here they come. They're off, leaving the line. Alfred Could Be Magic racing for the top on the inside goes Woodmere Connie. They drive into the turn. Alfred pacing on top. Could Be Magic and Woodmere Connie up tight third. The final Brett gets away fourth as they pass the 8th. Elmhurst Cruiser outside racing 5th. And they drive up the backstretch. Island Quizite is racing 6th. Then Clonmel Caper, Meductic Molly, Ling DeFu trails, and they're battling by the opening quarter. Alfred Could Be Magic pace the opening quarter in 28 and 2. Woodmere Connie racing third. Outside fourth is Elmhurst Cruiser, and the final Brett racing up tight fifth. The first 5 off by themselves a bit as they approach the 3/8, and they're by that marker now, and they're still battling for the top as they round the turn and race through the stretch for the half. Alfred Could Be Magic is parked. Woodmere Connie sitting up tight third, tipping out 3 wide. There goes Elmhurst Cruiser, and following him is the final Brett. They pace the half 3 wide in 58 and 3, and quickly as they drive into the turn. Elmhurst Cruiser is bidding for the top. Alfred racing with him on the inside. On the rail third is Woodmere Connie. Now the final Brett grabs third as they head up the backstretch for the 3/4. On the outside, Elmhurst Cruiser pacing for the top. Alfred stays with him on the rail. The final Brett racing third. Woodmere Connie has fourth, and they're neck and neck by the 3/4 at 1:27 and 3. Alfred. On the outside is Elmhurst Cruiser. The final Brett with the leaders racing third. On the rail fourth, Woodmere Connie, and they're by the 7/8. Alfred has the field by 3 parts of a length. Here they come for home. Alfred, they're not going to catch him. Elmhurst Cruiser, the final Brett. Alfred in deep stretch. The final Brett up the inside, but it's Alfred. Here they are. Alfred wins it. Then the final Brett, Elmhurst Cruiser. Woodmere Connie, Meductic Molly, followed by Island Quizite, Clonmel Caper, Ling DeFu, and Could Be Magic. Time for the mile.
Question before we get into that. Who is announcing? Who's that announcing? I don't know who that is. I always wonder. Does anybody know who's announcing that race at EPR?
No, I know the voice, but I can't think of who it is.
I don't know either.
It's not from Moncton. What you call him?
I thought it might have been Chris Connor, but I'm not sure.
Like he would do some stuff.
Not
I know at that
Trainer?
point. No.
Not Howie Trainer?
Geez, I thought it was Scott Waddell. It wasn't?
No.
Waddell comes later. Waddell comes later. Yeah.
I thought it might have been Chris Connor, but I'm not sure.
Because I know, I know Ingham. Like God bless him, because I love Ingham. I could listen to Ingham all day. I know around that point his health's kind of deteriorating a little bit. I have a race of Ingham. I think I think he goes right till the time he passes away, and it's God bless him. It was sad because you could tell his voice was real bad, right? Because he was so sick. But he went right till the end, man. And Ingham, like we talked before, Marcel, I think you'll agree, Jill's like, you got Vance Cameron now, who's one hell of an announcer. And I would never take anything away from him. I love Ingham. Vance is definitely up there. He's up there for me now. Yeah.
He'll keeps it interesting.
Yeah. I remember quick story, then we'll jump into a little bit more. When I went up to the Gold Cup this year, with my friend there, we were at the race. She'd never been to, I think I was telling you, she'd never been to harness racing before. So it was her first time ever going to a harness racing event. Gold Cup and Saucer, that's a pretty big race to go to. And nothing against the Meadowlands announcer, but he's pretty mellow. He announced the first few races of the night, and we were watching it. And then Vance, I think Vance came in around race 4 or race 5, and she's like, wow, this guy's awesome. She's like, she loved him. So this guy's amazing. So yeah, that race there, you finished, I think, was it second or third? I think it was second you finished that race with Elmer's Cruiser to Alfred Alford?
Third.
Okay. But good race right to the end, like you were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any memories of that race at all, Marcel, or kind of just like almost like another race?
Oh, yeah, I remember them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but he was, just like I said, he had lameness issue there back then, and that was in the fall because he hadn't raced for a month, I think, or before that race. Like, I was just patching him up, trying to get him as good as I could, and that was double dash too. Like, you win the first one, and we had to come back for the second one.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that could be.
He wasn't the Amherst Cruiser that he was in Montreal for sure. Yeah.
And actually, I have some of the Montreal races that Matt had given me. I was going to throw it up, but I could probably make you a copy of that, Marcel. I was supposed to make you a copy before.
Yeah.
I have a folder with all your races in it. I'm going to get that copied up and send it over to you.
Yeah.
So then we jump into around 1996, 97. Now, Gilles, you get a great horse with Comedy Hour, which was just like absolutely dominant. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll actually show a little bit of the Gold Cup with Comedy Hour.
Yeah, he was a nice horse. Really, yeah, he was. I mean, he had tremendous gate speed. I mean, that was his big asset.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time too, I mean, he was 2 seconds better than the rest of them too. I'm not knocking the horse. He was a good horse, but he was just that much better than the rest of them.
Yeah.
But he was, like I said, he just had tremendous gate speed, and you could just get him there right now, then, shut him down like that, eh? Give him a breather second quarter, then he'd throw you another like 27, 28 last quarter. So, oh yeah, he was great for me, I can't knock the horse for that.
Was it the, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Was it the Provincial Cup trial that you won by I think 12 lengths or something like that? Or was it the Provincial Cup you won by 12 lengths? You won one of them races by a ton. I seen a tape of it. I can't remember now which one it was. It was either the trial or the Provincial Cup itself. But it's like you won by 12 lengths. I think you went 54 or 55. Something crazy. It was absolutely wild that you won by that much, but still got a big speed, got a big dash out of it. So, but all right.
Just like I said, he was a good horse, but he was just that much better than the rest of them at the time. He was even Russell back. I mean, he was 2 seconds better than the rest of them.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have set anybody on the same job. It's just the horse was that much. He was great to drive too. He just drove like a car,
And as Jill said, so as I said to you, Jill, we're gonna show some victories for the rest of the way through for the last bit, okay, guys? Because and you're right, on a half-mile track, there's nothing like a horse that can fly off the gate, is there, Jill? And this horse could fly off the gate.
Oh, good.
Let's bring him up, Scott.
Yeah, we'll bring it up here. So this is Comedy Hour Gold Cup and Saucer 1997. I think it's 97. Last half, because basically Comedy Hour dominates the whole race. So here it is.
Mile in 1 minute, 2 fifths, turning now to the backside. Comedy Hour turning it on in the front, opens up by 4. Energy level now second. Victorious Breeze third. Southview Matt is tipped 3 wide. Now fourth. Racing after them in fifth. Village Jet. Bow in the fiddle circling up. 130 and 1 down at 3/4. It is the 38th Guardian Gold Cup in Saucer. Turning on down the lane, and it's all Comedy Hour. Southview Matt is second. Bow in a fiddle looking third. Deep in the stretch now. Gilles Barrieau gets Comedy Hour home. Then it's Bow in the fiddle. Southview Matt, Village Jet, Acton Amigo.
The question for you, Gilles, at that point, that's your first? No, that is your first Gold Cup win. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was my first one. Yeah.
So if you remember, like, what's going through your head when you get to like the last quarter? You know you have it at that point. Are you like kind of just? Do you remember what's going through your head?
Well, I know. Well, even going before the race, I think I thought he was a chalk, like, because he had drawn good and he was good at the time. And even going into the race, I was pretty confident that he was going to win the race unless I fell off the bike or, you know, how much better he was. He was just a nice horse, really. So
Yeah. So you're saying Russell could have won the Gold Cup with him, probably?
That's what I'm thinking.
No, he could have. He didn't need me, or, you know, he was just that much. He was just a good horse.
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Where was he purchased from? Was it Ontario he came from?
No, Dave Bishop was the owner,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he got him in Florida.
Okay. Yeah.
He was in Florida, stabled in Florida through that spring or through that winter, and he came home with him, and he got hooked up with me, and that's how we got involved. And you know, the rest is history.
We have a little bit more of a dramatic Gold Cup for you coming up here in a little bit. I'm going to show a couple pictures of some of the horses that you had over the years. These come from Chris and Joanne Davies. Actually gave me these ones. So, and bear with it. They're the winning circle. Like, I did it this way, so I'm going to have to bring it up a little bigger. I know they're really small. I just didn't want to take another thing. That there is Viking Jenny from '92.
Oh yeah, Viking Jenny. Yeah.
Viking Jenny there. That was owned by Alison Carr. Son of the Davies
Alison
were
Carr
involved in that?
from the island here.
Yeah, so I got that one. Any memories of that horse at all? I know you've driven so many horses. If you have any memories,
Oh
of
yeah,
that
I
horse
remember her. Yeah, she was a nice little mare. Yeah, she was.
Yeah. So we have that one. Let's see what's up here. This one here. Get it up bigger
Same
for
one,
everybody.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is the same
That's
one.
her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
from '92 also. Which, if anyone's watching this and has like any mid '90s tapes, I know I'm trying to sell it, but get a hold of me because I get nothing from '92, '93. I got like a couple races, and I think this one here is. Let's see what we got here. I cannot pronounce it.
Adara Spirit.
Speed. Yeah.
Adara's. Yeah.
So
Adara
that
Spirit.
horse was owned by Joanne. Yeah, Joanne Davis. That's who owned that horse. Or it might have been like, yeah, Joanne, like, she loves her Mondays. I always tease her. That's Joanne's little joke. She loves her Mondays. I tease her all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what, do you have memories of that horse at all there, Jill?
Not a bit.
Not
Not
a
a
bit.
bit.
No. Just catch driving probably or something maybe?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was probably one of Big John's, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one last picture. We'll do a couple, show some Gold Cup ones here. This is Comedy Hour. I think this is the post-parade Comedy Hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That comes from Jerry McCabe. Jerry gave me that one last night. Yeah. And we have a couple more here. This is the 2000 Gold Cup. I think this one here is, let's bring it up. Now, who should have them?
That's Canico Simon, one of Colin Johnson's. Yeah, I think he was my second Gold Cup, maybe.
I think we just lost Marcel. I think Marcel's gone. We did lose Marcel. Okay, we'll keep going. I'll get him back in here. And there's a picture here of you with the trophy.
Yeah.
Which, if you look, you probably can't see it. I actually have I always say it, I got the 74 one in my living room, 74 Gold Cup trophy. Okay. And then one more. This is the 2002 one.
Oh, that's another one of Colin's too. London Muse Inn, I think.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna pause real quick, guys. I'm gonna just get Marcel back in there because we lost him. Just hang tight. There won't be too much. We only got about too much to go through. We're gonna probably finish up here about. Oh, there he is. He came back. All right, we got him back. There you are.
Trying to cut me off.
No, I lost you. I was like, well, Marcel's gone. What happened?
It's starting to look like the opening of the Brady Bunch here, Scott, with all these squares moving around.
Yeah, I know. I know. No, I was getting ready to pause it to get a hold of you, Marcel, but no, we're good. We're back. So
I think Scott, we're at the part because we want to get moving along here because we got a couple more winning races to show, guys. You had a quick question for both Gilles and Marcel about what's the hardest kind of horse to drive, because unless you've been there, and believe me, it's very, very hard to drive racehorses. So what's your thoughts, fellas, on what type of horse do you find the hardest to drive?
Myself, just bag gaited horses. Bag gaited horses. They're tough to drive. That throws in steps and just don't want to go forward at the same time, and they're just bad horses, you know.
How about you, Marcel?
Myself, I hate one that won't try. The sour one or something like that won't go ahead, and I'd sooner drive that one that makes a jump once in a while than one that won't try.
Yeah.
So what was the name of the horse again that we talked about in your first podcast? And Aubrey mentioned it in his podcast also. Remember that horse that it was just brutal. I think it
Trading Mirror.
Trading Mirror, yeah.
Trading Mirror. That was before my time.
But she could go though. Like, I mean, you just had to be careful not to jump in front of other horses or something like that. You had to be cautious with her, but she could go. Like once she was in her frame of mind to go, and she was all right. But she could do some tricks.
How was she in the barns? Was she bad in the barns, or was she just like a little bit weird on the track? Was she okay?
No, she was pretty good in the barn. Like, you know, I mean, she was kind of an erratic little thing, but I mean, you know, she was no dirt to her. Yeah.
All right, super. I'm gonna jump in. Did you want to jump into the race from 2011, Russell? Do you want to bring that one up now, maybe?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think. Do you want to just ask Joel about his experience in the World Driving Championship in 2007 and a nice trip to Australia, where I'd like to be right now?
Yeah. Well, there you go. So you just introduced us, Jill. How was that going to there in 2007 in the World Driving Championship?
Oh, that was a trip of a lifetime. Geez, we had a great time, but as far as racing, we didn't have much luck. But I mean, it was phenomenal. What a trip! I mean, it just had something to do every day. We're on the go and visited farms and stud farms. We did everything. I mean, it was a trip of a lifetime, really.
Nice. Yeah.
So no, it was, you know, between Australia and New Zealand, it was, you know, like I said, you couldn't beat it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Racing wise, it wasn't great.
Well, that's good because I tried to look for it online last night. I couldn't find it. So, well, if you didn't do that great, then I dodged a bullet by not finding it. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think I win one race the whole time I was there.
Well, it's better than not winning any.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, no, it was good.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. So, Russell, you want to introduce this race before I pop it in?
Yeah, I do. I hope you remember this horse show. In 2011, I hadn't been around the industry much at all. And I heard that my brother and Wayne and Tony Watson, had bought a little horse, and Billy Smith as well, God rest his soul, had bought a little horse from Riedel Carlton who was making jumps, and they got him for next to nothing. And they brought him back to St. John, and lo and behold, after some changes were made to his shoes and whatnot, he reeled off 5 wins in a row. So he was scheduled to race on Governor's Plate night in 2011. And anyway, the horse's name was MD Hardley Success. I hope you remember him, Jill.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So horse to drive, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, this is where this story's going. And he's racing on the Saturday night in the Governor's Plate night, not in the plate, but he's in the backup class in the Premier's Pace. So on the Friday, the day before, they had them all. Wayne had them all ready to go out to jog, and Wayne sort of was getting busy around the barn or whatever. And I think my brother, believe it or not, was having a couple of beers. So Wayne said to me, "Do you want to take him out to jog him?" Well, I think I hadn't sat on jogging a horse since probably 30 years. So I said, "Yeah, okay. What could possibly go wrong?" So out I go with him, and he was, as you said, Jill, he was a sweet little horse on the track. And we go around a few miles, and there's nobody really out there, and no problems. And I get around to the upper turn, and all of a sudden, this car comes around the corner and starts backfiring, and it sounds like a gunshot. So within about 2 seconds, a loud bang happened, and I'm telling you, this horse took off like he was Secretariat in the 1973 Belmont, right on the gallop. So I'm hanging on for dear life, and all that's running through my head is this horse is going to get hurt, and I'm going to get killed, either by the horse or by Wayne Watson when I get back to the barn. So we go for about a half a mile on the dead gallop, and mercifully the horse slowed down, and I got him off the track. And I'm heading back to the barn, and Wayne's standing there by the door, and he looks at the horse, and the horse is all lathered up, and he's blowing hard and breathing hard. And Wayne says, "What the hell happened to this horse?" I said, "Well, he's just a little sharp." And he looks at me and says, "You didn't let that horse run away on you, did you?" And I said, "Well, define run away. It was technically more of a galloping away is what he was doing." And Wayne said, "Well, gallop off this damn cart and get out of the way." So the horse gets into the barn, and the next day, Joe, you trucked him over to Summerside for the big night with your 3 or 4 stake horses. And I think he's in the 8th or 9th race or whatever it is. And I'm standing at the fence, and somebody I hadn't seen in years said, "What are you doing over here?" So I explained my brother and the Watson brothers had this little horse in the Premier's Pace. So he looks at the program and he says, "Oh, yeah, I see him. Yeah, he's won a few." I said, "Yeah, he's won 5 in a row." And he goes, "Well, he's got no shot in here." And I said, "Well," I said, you as you guys would agree, I think, Jill and Marcel, you never want to dismiss a horse that's hot. And this horse had just won 5 in a row, and you had driven him for a few of those, Jill. And I said, I wouldn't leave him out, Jack. I'm telling you, the horse is, and really, believe me, he's really sharp right now. I can tell you that for sure from the day before. And Jack says, no, Russell, you don't understand. He's got the 8-hole. He's got no chance. I don't care if Barrieau's driving. He's just got no chance in this class from the 8-hole. Roll the tape, Scott.
All right, here it comes.
Gee, I don't even know.
You off there. What were you saying, Jill, before we go to the race? You were saying, so I cut you off. I brought the race up while you were talking. What were you saying?
I said, I don't even know how he did.
Well, you're going to find out.
I said, I don't even know how he finished.
Here it comes.
They'll line up in the 11. Man Racing Joe, Mighty and Strong, BJ Cruiser, Blue Star Outlaw, Modern Mojo, Real Bond, Rakara Son, MD, Hardly Success. 8 across the gate. Stand by. Gates fly. There they go. Blue Star Outlaw busts the gate. On the outside leads out Real Bond. Back towards the rail. Mighty and Strong is third. Clear into the front. Blue Star Outlaw and Hughes on top. Second on the outside. Real Bond back towards the rail on the inside. Mighty and Strong. BJ Cruiser checks in fourth. Gap back to the other 4 of the Modern Mojo in fifth. 6th away. MD Hardly Success. 7th is Rakara's Son, the trailer man Racing Joe on top. Blue Star Outlaw, Jason Hughes on top. Corners up, check it. 27, too fast. Boom, On top, Blue Star Outlaw. And out for the duration, Real Bond and Laughin' are caught out. With the Pocket Journey, Mighty and Strong in third. Back into fourth, that is BJ Cruiser down the stretch, past the half, on top, Blue Star Outlaw lays down the fractions. Second on the outside, going the long trip is Real Bond. Towards the inside is Mighty and Strong, 57 seconds flat. Second over on the outside in fourth, MD Hardly Success. Up the inside in fifth, BJ Cruiser. 3 wide on the outside, Rakara's Son. Man Racing Joe in seventh. Modern Mojo has dropped out of it. Oh, way out there. Rakara's Son on the far outside. Mike Stevenson and Rakara's Son look for the top. On the inside is the New Brunswick Invader. MD Hardly Success. 126. 3 fast. On the inside, MD Hardly Success. Rakara's Son. Man Racing Joe is not out of it here. On the outside, down the stretch for the mile, MD Hardly Success. Man Racing Joe on the far outside, but it will be MD Hardly Success and Barrieau. Second is Rakara's Son. Man Racing Joe is third. Mile and 1:55. 4 fast. MD Hardly Success.
So go ahead, Russell.
Well, I was just going to say, there's a few things to point out, and I'm going to tie this together
There you
at the
go,
end of the
Russell.
show.
You sharpened him up for that night.
Well, I was going to go down that road, Joel, and see if you give me half the credit for his victory. But,
Yeah, sure. You sharpened him up.
yeah, but no, I was going to point out a few things. Sometimes in this industry, without people, knowing what it takes to drive a racehorse, and obviously you and Marcel know better than anybody, they think that when it's a horse race, it's just, whoever has the fastest horse wins the race. That's all there is to it. But there's not. There's a lot to it. So I want to point out 3 things in that race, Joe, that you did. And by the way, after the race, when I saw the fellow who said he had no chance, I said, apparently he had a chance. So, but you did with the 8-hole at Summerside, which is almost impossible to overcome. The first thing you did is you even though you had the 8-hole, instead of just sliding over and sitting last, you left out a little bit just in case, and sure enough, you were able to get ahead of a couple of horses. The second thing you did at the quarter pole, which I don't know, and until I watched the race a few times, I didn't even realize it. The horse in front of you was rolling off stride, and you got around him before he interfered with you. And then the third thing, which takes tremendous skill, is when you went up the backside with him, Mike Stevenson looked like he had you collared, but you knew enough that Hardly could pace the turns real straight, and Mike's horse was a little bit rough on the turns, and you managed to keep him out until the turn, and then on the turn, you kind of got your second wind, and Mike's horse got a little rough, and then lo and behold, at the wire, you were able to hold on to a victory. And I can tell you, Joe, personally speaking, that race certainly meant a lot to me, and it was such a joyful experience because on the way home, I was driving and had Tony and Wayne and my brother had a few beer, and normally I would have considered tossing him off the Confederation Bridge, but because we were all in such a good mood, I didn't even consider doing it that night. So thank you for that victory, Joe.
Well, everything worked out.
There's only one thing missing, Russell.
What's
Russell,
that?
there's only one thing missing there.
What was that?
We never got to see the tote board. How much he paid for?
Oh, yeah. I think he was $9 or $10 on the board, but yeah, no, you know something? I never bet a ticket on that horse when my brother and them had him because I didn't want to jinx him. Because I just love that little horse, and it just shows it's a horse race, and there's a lot of skill involved, and to win from the 8-hole in a tough field, that was a tremendous race, Gilles, and I'll tie it together here in a couple of minutes when we come to the end. So
yeah, that was really good. I was pretty impressed. I actually got that and put it up. Did you want to add anything to that, Gilles, before we move on? I'm just not trying to speed everybody up, but we're at like 2 hours. I don't want to keep you guys all day. So, did you want to add into that race, Jill? Do you remember much about that race?
Not
raced so
really
many,
till
right?
they showed
Yeah.
it. Yeah, not really. So
Yeah, that's understandable. We're going to kind of burn through a few clips here because, again, I don't want to take your guys' whole day up. This next clip I'm going to show is, I'm going to go with Summerside, another race. We were actually there. This was last summer for Governor Plate Night. Me and Russell and his brother and Peter was with us. My uncle Peter Ryan was with us.
Yeah.
And I will say this was a fantastic night. I was standing right by the fence, actually with your wife, Jules. All of us were standing there watching this race. And I was super impressed with this race. Like, this was great. What was the horse again, Russell?
Yeah, it kind of ties into to what we've been discussing tonight. The name of the horse, and this is me picking out this race as well, Jill, because I'm being a little selfish. The name of the horse is Share the Moment, and I became friends with one of her owners, Amber and Luke, and I can tell you that they just had a tremendously exciting year last year with that little mare. And the little fella, Brooks, would lean over the fence cheering him on. She would send me a clip of that. And then after in the barn, feeding them carrots. And it's kind of interesting that the name of the horse is Share the Moment, because you and Marcel have had so many moments that you've had personally in this industry for you and your families. But sometimes those moments they ripple out to other people, fans, owners, trainers, even bettors, and you don't forget those moments. And I know that I certainly didn't forget that moment with Hardley winning that race in Summerside. And I know that these moments for Amber and her family, with you driving that little mare all last year, they'll keep those forever as well. So I wanted to have Amber's little mare shown here tonight. So roll it away, Scott.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to anybody before I start? We're all good? Okay. I didn't want to cut anybody off. Here we go.
All lined up here in the Ruby Chapel Final. Ace 44 Dome, Ms. Moist, Lady Like You, But I'm a Good One, Share the Moment, Philly 47, Atlantic Star, Dream Fairs, and Fire. Post time. The rough and pacing Share the Moment is leaving out. Dream Fairs and Fire from the grandstand side. Ace 44 Dome at the rail third. To get away fourth is Ms. Moist. Then in fifth around the turn. Straightening to the backstretch is Lady Like. Then racing from along the backstretch. Going to the quarter. A little to it and at it and to it up front. And Dream Fairs and Fire cleared the lead. Short-lived. Here's Barrieau. Right lining, Share the Moment. He wants her back on the engine, and he's got her there up at 27 and 1 opener. Boom! Just like that. Down the stretch they come towards the opening half mile. Share the Moment regains the lead. Dream Fairs and Fire is second. Ace 44 Dome third. Miss Moy's fourth. There goes Lady Like to the outside fifth. You But I'm a Good One sixth. Moving up seventh on the outside, Atlantic Star. On the outside, the trailer. That is Philly 47. 4 in, 4 out. 55 and 4 for an opening half mile. 3/8 left to go. Share the Moment, the leader. Dream Fairs and Fire is second. Ace 44 Dome under heavy urging on the outside third. Miss Moist at the rail fourth. Fifth on the outside. That's Lady Like You Bet I'm a Good One sixth. Atlantic Star seventh. Trailing the field, Philly 47, 3/4 in track record time, 1:23 and 4. Homeward bound they come. Share the Moment is the leader, and down the stretch she comes. She's up against the clock here at Summerside. Wow, Barrieau wins again. Share the Moment is there. Second is Lady Like. It might have been Ace 44 Dome to finish third. The time for the mile, an incredible trip. Age pacing mares, 1:53 and 1, equaling the Summerside Raceway track record.
That was a great race.
That was awesome. Yeah, definitely. That's sold me. I remember being there that night. And I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about EPR, but when you're there at Summerside compared to EPR with like 30 people, no, it was awesome. I love it. It was and I've rewatched that race a few times. I showed a few friends who weren't big into harness race. I said, "You want something cool? Watch this." And
I think Joel, that mare has, I think, 5 or 6 owners, doesn't she? And it's just so great for the sport to have, because it seems to be the way of the sport now that you have to have some fractional owners and get more people involved, especially young people. And that mare was able to do that last season.
No, it's a great bunch of people that own that mare, and she's a sweet little mare. She's not big, but she's mighty, and they're having all kinds of fun with her.
Yeah.
Great.
And I know for a fact how grateful Amber and Luke and I'm sure the rest of the team are that you were able to drive her for most of the year last year, because you have your choice of drives sometimes, but no, it's great for the sport. It really is.
Yes.
So I'm gonna try something. I'm speeding right through. I just don't want to keep you guys all day. I'm gonna try to bring up the Gold Cup 2017 with us. We can just talk over it. We're gonna try it. We're not having the best internet luck today, so we might just bring it back up as the other races. We're gonna try it here in a second and see how we do. Obviously, this is an incredible race, Gilles. Like, I mean, I think everyone will agree, because I'll tell the story when I talked to you last weekend and I said, "What Gold Cup would you like to see me to put on the podcast?" And you said, 2017 Shadow Place. And I was away from the sport for a long time. I just came back around the last couple of years. And when I watched this race, I thought, well, he was wrong because he doesn't win this race. I was convinced you don't win it. My brain was like, there's no way he wins this race. I think, what do you want to do, Russell? Do you want to bring it up with everyone to talk over? Just bring it up like the other ones?
No, I think just run the race, and then Jill can comment on what was going through his head.
Yeah.
Because this was another one of those races where it didn't look like you had much of a shot, Jill. But it's horse racing, and as Marcel would agree, you never know what's going to happen in a race. So yeah, just roll it, Scott.
I'm going to try to I'm going to bring it up on my end here, because the thing is that if I try to load it up on my screen, we could be here for another week. So let's bring it up this way. And I'll mute everybody. See how we do here. This could be a little bit choppy.
Combier and Louis Philippe Wall, Sapphire City and Anthony McDonald. Art Hanover with Marcus Miller, Shadow Place and Gilles Barrieau. Always at my place, Mark Campbell. Do-over Hanover has Jake.
I'm going to take that out, guys. I apologize for the delay. I know we're all busy and stuff. We're not going to get a good view of that. So I'll just go over a few other things. Well, I got it loading on my other screen. I'll just go over a few more quick questions, then we'll move on and finish it up while we're waiting here. Just quickly for Marcel and Gilles, both is any favorite horses over the time that you've raced, like any ones that stand out? I'll let Marcel go first. You've been so quiet for the last 15 minutes. Say, Marcel, I feel bad. We're leaving you out. Any horse that pop into your brain that were real favorites of yours that you raced over the years?
Well, for sure, you could put 3 or 4 horses, because you got to go by the years. Like in the 70s, late 70s, early was Flying Caper, and then came Angel Shadow, and I also had Wave of War there in Montreal, and then you go back to Almerhurst Cruiser, and always some coming on, and that for their time they were favorites, and for sure, to pick one overall, I don't think I would. I had miraculous moments and give me some trails, like I went Vernon win the Gaines Memorial with him, beating Ambro Emerson there with that Walter Whalen race. So every horse got a special moment, through the years.
How about you, Gilles?
I'm the same with him, really. I have no really favorite, but just the years that like the year Comedy Hour dominated for a couple of years. I mean, you had to like him.
Yeah.
And on Broadway, when he was in his prime, he was good.
Go ahead.
And just a few years ago, I had Dusty Lane Goliath that, he was gave me a few thrills too. He set the track record in St. John that will stand forever now. That'll never be broken. So, he did me some good for a couple of years. So,
Definitely. Yeah. No, we'll bring that run up the EPR one too. So I got the Gold Cup up. This is going to be actually the good version of it because if I put it up the other way, we were going to be choppy. So this is the Gold Cup 58, and this is one of the most impressive drives I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying this is just sitting on my podcast. I'm being honest. This is unbelievable. So Gold Cup and Saucer I almost said 1958. It's getting late. We're going long. Gold Cup and Saucer 58, 2017, and we're going to bring it up right now. Here it comes.
And Saucer 58 lining up. Crombier and Louis Philippe Wall, Sapphire City and Anthony McDonald. Ark Hanover with Marcus Miller, Shadow Place and Gilles Barrieau. Always at my place, Mark Campbell. Do-over Hanover has Jason Hughes. From the outside, Sports Lightning and Brett McDonald. They're at the top of the stretch. Here they come. Gold Cup and Saucer 58 underway. There they go. Sapphire City leaving out. Always at my place on the outside second. On the rail and racing for third. As they go round the turn, that's Crombier up into fourth. Down on the inside is Ark Hanover. Racing fifth is Shadow Place. Now racing sixth from the outside. Sports Lightning along the rail leaves the trailer. They're over to the quarter. Always at my place. And Mark Campbell, they're on the choo-choo here in the Cup and Saucer. Stablemate, Sapphire City, set up for a two-hole ride. Here's the opening quarter on a miserable night. Boom! Just like that, 27 and 1 opened it up. Down the stretch they come. They're in front of us. First time round, that'll bring them halfway home. Always at my place. Clear by 3. Sapphire City is second. Crombier third. Ark Hanover fourth. Then in fifth, Shadow Place. Do-over Hanover. He's sixth. Trailing on the outside. Sports Lightning. The opening half mile is incredible. 54 and 3. 27 and 2 in the second quarter. And it's always at my place. Going to 3 quarters. Clear by 5. Sapphire City is second. Third on the outside. Ark Hanover is there. Up in the fourth, Shadow Place. The 3 quarters in 1. 24 and a 1/5. An eighth of a mile left to go. And the Gold Cup and Saucer is homeward bound. Always at my place. They're coming now from the outside. Sapphire City coming. Shadow Place. Shadow Place. And the Maritime Magic Man has got the Gold Cup and Saucer. Shadow Place for Barrieau. Second is always at my place. Look like Ark Hanover rallies up to be third. Time for the mile. 1:53 and 2. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, in the...
So that's pretty impressive, to say the least. That's an understatement to call that impressive. Did you want to mention something, Russell, and then I'll let Jill talk about the race?
Yeah, no, it just goes to show you the race is never over till it's over. It looked like Mark had a good enough lead, but your horse just seemed to get stronger in the mud, didn't he, Jill, at the 3/4 pole on?
Well, whether he was stronger or the field was coming back to me, I mean, because the fractions were honest. I mean, they're heavy fractions for the kind of night it was. It was a dirty, filthy night. And he just took advantage of the fractions, bottom line.
So you're sitting in... Oh, go ahead. You're sitting in 6, Jills, at this point, like at the half. And I know we talked about it before. Like, do you have any thought in your head that you're going to win that race when you're sitting in 6 at the half?
No, not a no. I said, well, if I get a 4 or 5, it'll. But as I got getting closer up the 3/4 pole, I said to myself when I was getting ready to move 3 wide, I said, I'm going to be second.
Yeah.
And as soon as we straightened out, I said, geez, if my horse still got a little pace, and I said, if I get at him, I think I might, and he did. So,
yeah, that's impressive. Yeah,
it was a surprising win for sure.
So Marcel, question for you. Now you're watching this race. Are you in? Do you remember this race, Marcel? When this went down?
Yeah,
in 2000.
Certainly
Were you
did.
in Prince?
Yeah.
Were you in Prince Edward Island when this was going on, or were you in Ontario? Like, where were you at during this?
No, I had to be in Ontario. Yeah.
So you're watching this.
Go ahead. Usually when if you're at the races on Saturday night, they put it on the big screen there in Toronto also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
so you're watching.
I remember seeing the race. Yeah.
So while you're watching it, I don't know if you remember, but are you thinking to yourself like everyone's thinking like I mean I've seen it and thought he's got the wrong race. Like he didn't win this race.
No.
What are you thinking in your mind if you remember? Like are you like getting really excited when you see at the end where he comes up to win it?
Well, for sure. Like, when you seen him tip 3 wide and he had the horse, like, and he had the momentum and everything, and the other one was going the opposite way than he was. So he still gained a lot of ground. Like, you don't expect to see that, but I mean, it does happen. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to come to an end. We have one more race to show. The reason we're going to show it's the last ever track record at EPR. Russell, do you want to add anything before I throw this last race on?
No, as I said, I want to thank Marcel and Joe for went a little bit long with some technical difficulties today, but pardon the pun, but thanks to both of you for sharing your moments with these great races and great horses. So,
oh, Russell, you and your
thank you for having us.
It's a great line.
I know. I'm going to bring it up. We'll come back in a second and close up. We'll see what other corny lines Russell can come up. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing you. All right, we're going to bring up. This is the last ever. This is the Barrieau McIsaac 2020. I think it's 21. What was the name of the horse again? Zills. I'm kind of running.
Dusty Lane
Goliath. Dusty Lane Goliath. Yeah. And I'll tell quickly once we finish this. I'm going to tell a funny story about my uncle, my favorite uncle, Tim Ryan. No offense, Peter. I like you also, and Vic and everybody else. But I'm going to tell a funny story about Timmy Ryan once this race is done. Bring him up here, and we'll talk about it real quick and close up. So here it comes.
Over $40,000 on the line. From the rail out, we have Dusty Lane Goliath and Gilles Barrieau. Woodmere Steel Deal with Mark Campbell. Vicky Everyday, John Davidson. Southern Governor with Dr. Downey. Elliott Moose, Jason Hughes. Tobin's Brownie, Dave Dowling way out there. That's Steel Reefer and Mark Hagg. Field of 7. Stake time at Exhibition Park. Here they come. There they go, off and pacing, center of the track, Elliott Moose from the inside, Dusty Lane Goliath, far outside, Tobin's Brownie into the first turn, Woodmere Steel Deal, he's right into the mix, on round the first turn, Dusty Lane Goliath and Barrieau, they have command of the racetrack, they're the leaders out of the first turn. Elliott Moose got away second. Here comes Woodmere Steel Deal. He had the 3-hole, but he's up and after the lead en route to the opening quarter. Dusty Lane Goliath, decision to make. He looks over. Here comes Woodmere Steel Deal. And Mark Campbell, they want to be the leader by the opening quarter. 28 seconds flat. Woodmere Steel Deal now in command of the racetrack. Dusty Lane Goliath stung him a ways. Now will sit second. That's Elliott Moose right there third. Tobin's Brownie is fourth. Then we're gapped out to Vicky Everyday in fifth. Around her comes Steel Reefer, and at the back, Southern Governor. Field is well strung out as they're halfway home under tight lines. This is Woodmere Steel Deal. He was halfway home. 54 and 4. Woodmere Steel Deal in command. Right there second, Dusty Lane Goliath. Elliott Moose looks at them from third. Tobin's Brownie, the filly, stays with them in fourth. The pace is fast. Track record could be in jeopardy. Down the backside, Woodmere Steel Deal. Dusty Lane Goliath right there second. Elliott Moose with them third. by 3/4. It just come on the board. 1:24.3. 3-year-old track record. It's going down for sure. All-time track record. It's in jeopardy. Here comes Dusty Lane Goliath from the pocket. Woodmere Steeldale tries to fight back. Dusty Lane Goliath takes over. Elliott Moose is coming down the center of the track. There's no David in this story. It's all Dusty Lane Goliath in the Barrieau McIsaac. Second went to Elliott Moose. Woodmere Steeldale was third. Time for the mile, the fastest ever at Exhibition Park by any horse on any day. 1:53 flat.
Exciting race.
Yeah, and Tim Ryan, my uncle, I remember I talked to him the next day. He wasn't there for it. I said, yeah, they broke the track record. They went 153. He said, no, they didn't. There's no way they went 153. And he was like arguing me on it. I said, well, I was there. I seen it. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, kind of a, like, I don't want to say a sad way, but with EPR being gone, it is the last track record ever at EPR. So it's a nice way to kind of show the last race of the day. And, you know, it's another great win on your part, Gilles. I mean, you know, you're second, you come out at the end.
Quite a mile. Yeah, that's quite a mile it was.
And you've won a few Barrieau McIsaac Memorials, have you not, Gilles?
I'm not sure how many, really. Yeah, 4 maybe.
Yeah, and I know it's definitely soft spot in your heart, being that's one of them was
Yeah,
your uncle.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Uncle
definitely.
Yeah.
And the McIsaac family, they're very nice people also. So definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, very nice Bev and them and Lee. And the mother actually did a podcast with them. They're very nice people.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very nice. Yeah. So Russell, do you want to add? I know we're kind of like we're running. I don't want to keep the guys much longer because it's
just one thing. You talk about my bad puns. What about Brock coming to the wire saying there's no David against this Goliath? That was corny joke too. All right, so
I'm just teasing you, Russell.
I know. I'm just joking too. But no, we want to let Gilles and Marcel get back to their stable because it's 83 degrees where Marcel is, and he wants to get outside.
Yeah.
And Gilles, I know we were talking off camera that he's got 12 horses to look after tomorrow morning. So so again, thanks very much, Gilles and Marcel, for taking the time to sit with us. And all the best, Marcel, with your yearlings in Florida, and all the best, Gilles, with your large stable over in Charlottetown. And I know we'll certainly run into you here in the new season. So thanks very much, fellas.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it. Good luck.
I want to thank you, fellas, too. I want to thank you, fellas, for having us on, and keep doing the good work that you do. We enjoy it, and I don't miss one, and it brings back good memories for sure. Yeah,
for sure. Great.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy and have yourself a great day, and we'll all talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
And that was the History EPR podcast with Marcel and Gilles Barrieau and also Russell. Technical difficulties throughout the one. That was more on my end. We just had some internet issues, but we do appreciate everybody watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, make comments, tell your friends. And that is about it for another episode of the EPR History EPR podcast.
Just watch it,